Well, here we are. It's a brand new day, and it's a brand new sweetie Abochi.
Is it?
Yes, we give you a brand new sweetie
Benjamin, I'm matching my hair color with your shirt.
You know, as of right now, Charlie, I've just given up. But it's a new opportunity for us to get interactive on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo.
And I'm Sweetie Abochi, and it's really good to be back. I know you haven't seen me in a while. Now, let's tell you what we have in store for you this morning. In a few days, it would be the first quarter of 2025 over. How is it going for you? Just struck me on my way here today. So do let us know how the year is going for you so far. But this morning on the AM show, we'll start by serving you the AM news. After that, we'll get into the news review. And for that segment, Amanda Clinton will be joining us. She's head Clinton Consultancy, as well as Nanaya Sapong from the Movement for Change. They'll be joining us to review the newspapers and the stories in there that resonate with you and I. And after that, Muftar Nabila Abdullah or Haruna Mubarak, our sports guys, will be bringing you AM Sports. And then our big stories.
Well, we get into our big stories. The Akufo-Addo administration has been lampooned, criticized for misrepresenting the true state of Ghana's economy, leading to unrealistic expectations among citizens, as Finance Minister Dr. Kasialatu Forson has slammed the erstwhile NPP government for lack of transparency in respect of the country's financial challenges, making it difficult for Ghanaians to grasp the full extent of the economic crisis. But what is true and what is false? We'll be debating the issues this morning with our guest. We continue to unpack the issues as far as the 2025 budget statement is concerned.
The whole week, all you see is budget. Budget here, budget there. This is false, this is true. We didn't implement that and we implemented this. You want to stay with us and join the conversation. Across all social media platforms, we are Joy News on TV. So get interactive. Folks, let's start with the AM News now. I'm Sweetie Abochi, serving you the AM News Bulletin on the AM show. Let's start with the details. Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta may be in more trouble than we think as the Finance Ministry gathers evidence of breach of the Public Financial Management Act. Finance Minister Dr. Kasialatu Forson says they found evidence to suggest that several contracts were awarded and executed over and above what was allowed by law, in some cases where there was no funding available. He says the Attorney General will be furnished with the evidence.
Has unable to implement the PFM Act. The previous administration virtually did not implement the PFM Act. We do not need new laws. All what we need to do is to implement the PFM Act. And to implement it successfully, you need to apply the sanctions. And the sanctions may not only be looking forward, it has to look at those who have infringed upon the PFM Act.
In the past?
In the past. So you have to look back and look forward so that, at the minimum, those in office today will also know that what has happened to the person who infringed upon the PFM Act may happen to you.
To be clear,
so the country will not go down.
This will apply to officers in the previous administration.
Of course, it's a PFM Act, and if the if the infractions were so severe to the extent that it has affected the economy of Ghana, and people are paying a huge price of it, and of course, the Attorney General must act on that.
Let's move on, because in an unusual move, the Supreme Court has allowed convicted NPP parliamentary candidates for Akwetia Ernest Kumi to appear before it in a bid to overturn his conviction by the Koforidua High Court. Despite being in contempt of court, Kumi was granted the opportunity to appeal. Our legal affairs correspondent Latif Idrisu reports from the court.
The Supreme Court had made a ruling that a contemnor can only be heard if he purges himself. And so, but today, Gary Nimako was able to convince the court why the convicted member of parliament for Akwetia should be heard. He made a case that in exceptional cases or in exceptional instances, someone who was not heard by a court but has been convicted is expected to be heard by another court. By a 4-1 decision, the Supreme Court have today given or opened the window for the convicted Akwetia MP to be heard at the Supreme Court on the substantive matter. Essentially, it has to do with the order of interim injunction that the Koforidua High Court placed on the elected member of parliament then on the 6th of January 2025. That was a day before the swearing in of members of parliament. Gary Nimaku makes the case that the judge made this ruling in the absence of a gazette notification to suggest that at the time the judge made this ruling, the member of parliament in contention had not been gazetted as member of parliament for Akwetia. And so, in their view, the member of parliament for Akwetia was not given a hearing, reason why he prayed the Supreme Court and allow the member of parliament to be heard here at the Supreme Court. One of the lawyers for the first interested party had a view to share as given by the members on the panel today.
When you are convicted of contempt, until you go and do the right thing, the court ought not to hear you, subject to certain exceptions. And today they say they are willing to hear him. Now, we are of the view that this is a side matter. That is why you notice counsel say we leave it to the wisdom and judgment of my lords, so that they go ahead. We don't want this to distract us from the main issue.
Do you regret your decision not to comment and allow it to the wisdom of the judges?
No, it was a very perfect strategy, well executed to its fullest. If it was a football match, we would have said we have won women away. We are dry.
So the case is back here at the Supreme Court on the 26th of this month, when the substantive matter is expected to be heard by the 5-member panel here at the Supreme Court. This is Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
In other stories, President John Dramani Mahama has reiterated his dedication to a leaner and more efficient government, stating that there are currently 30 political appointees at the presidency. He says it's a notable reduction compared to the 336 political appointees during President Akufo-Addo's administration. And speaking during the swearing-in ceremony of deputy ministers and a minister of state, he noted that while the recruitment process for supporting staff continues, the numbers under his administration will not come close to the huge number of appointees under the previous government. Let's take a listen.
Our commitment to a lean government is not merely about reducing the number of ministerial appointees or reducing the numbers at the presidency. It is grounded in our firm belief that government must exercise fiscal discipline by ensuring that public resources are used efficiently and responsibly. This commitment stems from a deep recognition that there must be a fair balance between government expenditure and the responsibility of citizens to fund national development and state administration through payment of their taxes. Public funds must go primarily into investments that benefit the Ghanaian people directly, and those who administer those funds and use it in pursuit of that objective must not be the largest beneficiary of same.
And President Mahama also directed all CEOs and deputy CEOs of government departments and agencies to declare their assets. He also urged the newly sworn-in ministers to do the same.
The requirement to declare assets also includes all those who have been appointed as CEOs and deputy CEOs in government departments and agencies. Some of those people think they are not included. The amended law included all of them. So those who are rushing for position, you are covered by the assets declaration rule. And so they should declare their assets as quickly as possible. I've asked the Chief of Staff to write to all such persons to declare their assets promptly with the Auditor General's office. The sacrifices I ask you to make are to secure a prosperous future for posterity. And you must never sacrifice a secure future for the pleasures of this fleeting moment.
For some time now, the uncompleted Kasua-Winneba Road has raised worry among several commuters due to the amount of dust the uncompleted road is emitting. Although the situation seems nowhere near being resolved, the Central Regional Minister, Ekopenyi Amoah, During his visit to the Central Regional Highway Authority as part of his institutional tour across the region, addressed the situation, expressing his misgivings about the lack of care to complete the project. Abigail Nkrumah has more in this report.
The Central Regional Minister, Amoah, visited the Regional Highway Authority as part of his institutional tour across the Central Region. Addressing the challenges of commuters on the Kaswa-Winneba Road, the minister questioned the lack of urgency by contractors and the authority to complete the road, vowing to complete unfinished roads before commencing new ones.
This Kaswa Liberia Camp Road and its issues, who is supervising it? How are you involved in that activity? It appears the contractors don't care anybody. They don't mind users of the road. They are not exhibiting any ethics at all. Nothing is happening there. It's like anything goes. If it's under your supervision, what are you doing about it? You can't understand them. There are no signs to show what they are doing, and people are struggling on that road. I expect to get some information on that road and prepare that all of us are going to, inspect the activities. I don't know how you do inspect the activities, but I think that we should be part of it. I don't even know the contractor, but the way they are handling their activity is as if nobody is watching. So let's see how we can do.
He then advised authorities to desist from corrupt activities, imploring their support for his tenure.
I want us to be more ethical about our doings. Let's avoid corruption. That's the word I didn't want to use, but I have to. The table dealings are too much, where apart from us, the politician, influencing your activities, you yourself, some of you have favored contractors, some of you are contractors yourself. Let's do our best.
In response to the minister, the regional director of the Ghana Highway Authority, Engineer Mercy Payne, explained that the construction is not under the jurisdiction of the Regional Highway Authority.
With the Budumburam or Kaswa-Winneba Road, the region does not really play a critical role in it. The project is being managed from the headquarters because it is what we call a development project. So with what we are saying, Honorable, we want to assure you that with what you have told us, we will continue to do our monitoring, continue to look at our designs well, and then whatever we have to do to ensure that our roads last, we can assure you that we would do that, and we are doing that.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Let's do some other stories now, because stakeholders are pushing for a policy on front-of-package warning labeling to be introduced to help enlighten consumers on the content of products on the shelves on the market. This is targeted at guiding consumers to pick processed foods that will not endanger their health in a bid to reduce incidence of non-communicable diseases such as obesity and diabetes, among others. We'll tell you more in this report.
Research has revealed high consumption rates of processed foods across the country. Health workers attributed this to the increasing rates of non-communicable diseases. This was affirmed at a symposium jointly organized by the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics, and Family and Community Health of the University of Health and Allied Sciences.
Ghana's food environment is rapidly changing, with an increasing prevalence of ultra-processed foods that are high in sugars, salts, and unhealthy fats. These dietary shifts have contributed to the rising burden of non-communicable diseases in Ghana, such as obesity, diabetes, and hypertension.
This is partly attributed to the lack of knowledge of consumers in the content of processed foods they purchase on their counters. Though these foods are labeled, it is mostly at the back and in small text sizes, making it difficult for consumers to identify. Given this, stakeholders have begun pushing for the introduction of a policy on front-of-package warning labels. Professor Paul Amoah of the School of Public Health of UHAS gave details on the policy.
A public policy development process in Ghana goes through a lot of hoops. It's quite a complex process. This policy is owned by the Ministry of Health. We are very positive that this year, 2025, this policy will see the light of day, and hopefully it will help us in our fight against overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases. It is just one of the tools. There are many others, and all these have to be part of the government policy process, the Public Health Act, and we need to make Ghanaians aware that these things exist.
The Vice Chancellor of UHAS, Professor Lydia Aziatu, emphasized the significant role of textiles of the labels.
When you look at it, for some of the things, the writing is small. I can't even read without my glasses. I didn't go to the market with my glasses. Let's put that one aside. The language, they write something, I can't even pronounce it. How do I even understand what you have written? So today's symposium, I'm hoping that the discussion would lend itself to how friendly such a label will be for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
A conference on women in maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea is raising awareness about the need for more women in the field. Experts say women can play a key role in addressing security challenges in the region. They're also encouraging young women to take up careers in maritime security. There's more in this report.
The Conference on Women in Maritime Security in the Gulf of Guinea provided a platform for women in the field to share their experiences and inspire young women. Commandant at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Major General Richard Edujan, highlighted key security threats in the Gulf of Guinea.
In the past decade and a half and up to the late 2021, high-level incidents of pirate attacks, armed robbery at sea, and associated violence had earned the Gulf of Guinea the notorious title of the world's piracy hotspot. Between 2010 and 2021, the International Maritime Bureau recorded a total of about 623 attacks alone in the Gulf of Guinea, leading to 648 crew kidnapped.
To tackle these challenges, experts stress the need for gender equality in maritime security. And Lexus is the head of security for the European Union.
The European Union is very committed to promote gender empowerment and gender equality. And in the particular field of the maritime security, today we are opening this conference for a few days on the role of the women in promoting maritime security.
Ghana's highest-ranked female naval officer, Commanders Fosti Anochi, outlined initiatives to boost female participation in maritime security.
Initiatives is sensitization and then letting people know that there are jobs out there at sea where women can also benefit. Education must go on. The stereotyping must stop.
Head of Enhanced Maritime Action in the Gulf of Guinea, Mary Gibrat, underscored the vital role of maritime authorities in enhancing security.
First of all, the maritime sector is crucial to the economy because everything we own and we need and the goods are coming through shipping routes. So 80% of the goods globally are shipped through the sea. So if we cut this, or if there is insecurity at sea, then the shipping lanes are at risk.
Ensuring equal opportunities for women in the maritime sector is crucial for economic growth and development. Jennifer Eggers' report read to you.
Virtual InfoSec Africa has donated a state-of-the-art computer laboratory to the University of Ghana to strengthen cybersecurity training and equip students with the skills needed to combat rising cybersecurity threats. Stephen Mensah tells us more.
The newly commissioned facility, equipped with advanced cybersecurity tools and high-performance computing systems, is set to enhance research, practical training, and innovation in digital security. With cyber fraud and digital crimes on the rise in Ghana, experts stress the urgent need for well-trained professionals to safeguard sensitive data and infrastructure. Acting Director of the Cybersecurity Authority, Steve Kujo, stressed that Ghana can no longer afford to treat cybersecurity as business as usual.
One of the key things we've done is to launch what we call a licensing accreditation regime. Basically, around the world, we are just 3 countries. Ghana was the second, and it's the only one in the African continent who have done this. And essentially, it's a system of making sure that we have the right service providers and professionals that are fully qualified and accredited to carry out the sensitive job of cybersecurity within the country. Now, VIA has been around for years, and when this law came out, they were one of the few or one of the earliest to support us to get it done. And indeed, they are tier 1. What we call tier 1 is the most experienced, those that are mandated to work on our critical infrastructure. So VIA support is a benchmark. It basically means that other institutions can follow their steps.
At the commissioning, Chief Executive of Virtual InfoSec Africa, Emmanuel Setresi-Edu, reaffirmed the company's commitment to equipping the next generation of cybersecurity experts.
This is the 3rd initiative we have organized as Virtual InfoSec Africa. Our first was held at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, followed by one at Presbyterian Christian College, and now this, our biggest yet. Attending university here 22 or 23 years ago left a lasting impact on me. It touched my heart to give back in a meaningful way to the institution that nurtured me into the person I am today. This is why we are here today.
On her part, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nana Abba Amfo, underscored the increasing importance of cybersecurity in Ghana's digital transformation.
The commissioning of this cybersecurity lab is very significant for the University of Ghana. Our first strategic priority is a transformative student experience, and this will help us to achieve that. Together with staff from Virtual InfoSec Africa and other people in industry who have expertise in this area, they will join faculty here for us to train our students in cybersecurity and related issues. As you know, this is a very topical issue for us here in this country and globally.
Stephen Mensah's report read to you.
Business update now with Benjamin Akakpo.
Welcome aboard, and for our business update this morning, we kickstart matters with the currency market. Let's head into the stories now. And the Ghana Revenue Authority has begun conversations on strategizing compliance and widening the tax net in order to exceed the 220 billion cedi target for the year. According to the Acting Commissioner General of the GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapong, this has become critical as the country needs domestic revenue to fill up the widening revenue gaps. Mr. Sapong has been speaking with Joy Business after they visited some key tax centers and customs collection points in the country.
Means we want to ensure that there's fairness in everything that we do, there's integrity, we are responsive to the taxpayer, we are serviceable, and above all, teamwork. If we work within this value components, that will create the behaviors that we need to have as people and as colleagues. But more importantly, as leaders, we are also strategizing in the area of compliance, in the area of deepening the taxes for taxpayers who are already on the net, and also most importantly, broaden the net to bring taxpayers who are not in. These strategies are being discussed at various leadership levels, and we are committed to implement them. And that's what gives us the confidence that the target that has been given to us, we are going to meet it or even exceed it, because it is so crucial to promote the agenda of the nation and to promote the agenda of the President, John Dramani Mahama, to ensure that the vision of resetting Ghana can be done in his time.
Finance Minister Dr. Ato Forson has announced a fresh set of measures aimed at containing the inflationary rate and stabilizing the cedi. These policy measures are expected to complement various programs being rolled out by the Bank of Ghana. There's more in this report.
According to the Minister of Finance, Dr. Ato Forson, the establishment of the Gold Board is expected to play a lead role in helping stabilize the cedi and slow inflation rate for this year. Government believes that this will enhance generation and accumulation of forex to help stabilize the cedi. The Finance Minister, in the presentation, also argued that the proposed spending cuts and fiscal consolidation program would go a long way to reduce budget deficit, which may in turn ease the current pressure on the cedi. The minister also believes that the implementation of the 24-hour economy will improve local production and help reduce imports, which could stabilize the local currency. On keeping inflation low, Dr. Forson believes that the introduction of some fresh programs like the Agriculture for Economic Transformation agenda will increase food production and reduce food inflation. Government is also planning to implement policies that will target the value food chain and transport costs as well.
Let's find out now what major commodities are trading for on the market. Well, that's it for business. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
On the AM show. Coming up next is the news review segment. Our guest who join us, Amanda Clinton. She's head of Clinton Consultancy, and Nana Yao Sapong is from the Movement for Change. Stay with us. We'll be back in a bit. Folks, we are live on the Joy News channel, and this is the AM show. This segment is the news review segment where we get to discuss the stories that are making the airways. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and I'm doing this with Benjamin Akakpo. In the studio with us this morning is Amanda Clinton, and she's head Clinton Consultancy. Hi, Amanda. Hi. How are you doing? Good, thank you. We're like twins this morning, aren't we? Really are. Okay. Like we do on the AM show, on the news review segment, we'll give you some minutes to walk us through your trail of thoughts. Anything you want to reflect on briefly?
I think it's been a pretty big week because of the 2025 budget.
Yeah.
You know, it very much mirrors the manifesto promises of the NDC. However, for me, it has a few challenges in terms of potentially, potential revenue losses. Like 22.15 billion that they could have got from e-levy and, COVID tax, etc., as well as, there might be a few implementation
How did
hurdles.
that come to you, though?
Well, I mean, he countered it in his speech. I mean, he said something like, Ato Forson said something like they would try and make up the shortfall.
He said they were going to use the tax refund account, take a component of it. It's basically just sitting there. And why we've not invested that sum of money in the past boggles your mind. But that's the avenue they are going to use to plug those loopholes. And he mentioned the specific figures.
Yes, but 22.15 billion is quite a big amount, especially for a government that is meeting nearly empty coffers in terms of what's left for them to handle. So we'll see how
Amanda,
much they can
a quick point. Where's the 22.15 billion you're speaking of coming from? Because
well,
they are talking about, I thought you were talking about the e-levy and the betting tax.
Yes, in terms of potential revenue for 2025 to 2027, that is what they could potentially get had the e-levy and the tax.
But they are looking at 2025.
Yes.
How much is in there? It's somewhere around 2-point-something billion, actually.
Yeah.
And that is what they're going to take from that tax withdrawal or tax refund account. So if you look at the figures, what is in there versus what they are taking out, it's a component of that. It's not even the entire sum.
Yes.
Unless you are adding future amounts to it. But if you're looking at 2025, the amount is catered for.
Yes, but again, for me, Ghanaians are suffering. And we need the money in as many places as possible. And though it's really difficult to look at our bills sometimes and see those taxes added, especially the COVID tax still added onto our, daily bills for the things we pay for. Looking at it from a government point of view, they would definitely have to match and surpass, that revenue sources for me. I mean, I'm just looking at it from a government perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And the second thing, of course, is Ken Ofori-Atta is suing over the raid of his house and whether the Constitution protects against supposed unreasonable searches and seizures and whether the Constitution also allows for exceptions in the public interest. I think those are two of the big topics this week.
Yeah,
and you bring that up because of Ken Ofori-Atta?
Well, yeah.
Well, I know you're quite disappointed because it's not in the paper I have. I don't know if it's there, but
yes, it's not
hopefully when
it
starts, we'll get into it.
Well, it's in the Supreme newspaper. Ken Ofori-Atta sues police officers over alleged raid on his residence.
Do you want to start from there? Because it's an interesting...
Okay, so let's start from there. Supreme newspaper. And let me just give the headlines and then I'll just go straight to it. Baba Sam's lawyer, Kwesi Finn, in trouble over repeated murder allegations. Then there's also no unnecessary appointments, Mahama on deputy ministerial selections. Then there's coming up, NDC caucus at GACL, angry, that's the Ghana Airport Company Limited, angry as rude NPP MD stays on. That's the talk there. And then LG revamps older smart TVs with WebOS upgrade. And then Ken Ofori-Atta sues police officers. Let me get to that story. So former Finance Minister Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta has taken legal action against two police officers, DSP Bismarck Boachi Ansa and Chief Inspector Mensah, also known as Sir Mensah, over what he describes as an unlawful invasion of his privacy and trespassing on his property. The lawsuit stems from an alleged raid on Ofori-Atta's cantonment residence on February the 11th, 2025, carried out by a group of individuals, some of whom were reportedly dressed in military and police uniforms at the time of the incident. Ofori-Atta was out of the country while his wife and other family members were present. Eyewitnesses and security footage suggest that around 12 individuals participated in the operation, with 5 dressed in military attire, 1 in a police uniform, and the rest in civilian clothing. The motive for the raid remains unclear, and it is unknown whether any belongings were taken. Speculation initially pointed to the Office of the Special Prosecutor as the orchestrator of the raid. However, Special Prosecutor Kisi Ajabing firmly denied any involvement during a press conference on February 12, stating that his office had not sanctioned or conducted the operation. And so it goes on, but that's basically the story when it comes to Kenneth Ofori-Atta, who is taking on police officers for raiding his residence. So on the back of this, what's your add-on?
I think there are exceptions, especially in view of public interest, etc. But if we go to the Constitution, perhaps, which is what the courts will be looking at, I think Article 18.2 states or protects individuals against searches and entries without lawful authority. However, it also allows for such actions if they are in accordance with the law. And the law in particular is the Criminal Procedure Code, which allows certain police officers to conduct searches without a warrant if they have reasonable cause and belief. And I think the State Secret Act allows search warrants to be issued concerning offences under the Act, such as offences that are prejudicial to the Republic. And we also have some judicial precedents which allow this. I think Pedu versus Attorney General, for instance, addresses the interpretation of the Constitution concerning personal liberties. The Supreme Court emphasized that while individual rights are protected, they are also subject to limitations prescribed by law, especially concerning public interest and security. So very much, you know, the hurdle Kenny Ofri-Atta's lawyers will have to face is public interest and security, particularly because, you know, he was at a very high position and he has 5 cases against him. So this was potentially in public interest and security. They could say they didn't need to present a warrant for that. Potentially.
Bring Nanaya Sapong into the conversation. Nanaya Sapong is with the Movement of Change, political assistant to Alan Manting still.
Yes.
Okay, welcome to the program, Nanaya Sapong. We haven't seen you in a bit.
Yes.
Okay, so before I get into my paper, you have 1.5 minutes to walk us through any reflections you may have on a topical issue. Amanda was just talking about well, you listened in,
good morning to your viewers. I think the topical issue that has been on my mind, and I think I've mentioned it on a lot of the platforms, is the fact that we should be able to manage our expectations and the aftermath of the budget. I think that if we're able to manage our expectations as Ghanaians, we would be able to actually absorb the shocks that it comes with, and we should be ready to tighten our belts if indeed we would want to be able to move this nation forward. There's a foundation of it all. I mean, after listening to the finance minister, I think that this is the foundation of the building. And if we are not able to push for the proper implementation of the elements within the budget, it would be difficult for us to actually push forward as a nation. So basically, that's what it's been on. Okay,
well, thank you for those brief thoughts. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, President Mahama backs 30-day ceasefire in Russia-Ukraine war. Don't use cumbersome processes to frustrate private sector investment, Reverend Nana Sapong is saying. And key nuclear regulatory experts desert job for greener pastures. 5 killed, others injured in Sishi. Ajimandi and illegal timber lodges clash. And on the back page, Ramadan causes fruits, vegetable price hikes in Upper West region. I actually want to start from there. So prices of fruits and vegetables have generally gone up in the Upper West region since the commencement of the month-long Ramadan fasting, during which Muslims abstain from food, drink, and other desires from dusk to dawn in fulfillment of their religious obligations. And checks by the Ghanaian Times across some markets in the Upper West region reveal that the prices of fruits and vegetables have skyrocketed, while some traders and consumers adduced it to the Ramadan fasting period. I'm struggling to see how the fasting period will rather cause hike in the prices of fruits and vegetables. Let me add just one story to this and then we can discuss. Mahama Care's Technical Task Force inaugurated. The Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta-Akanjo, has inaugurated a technical task force to oversee the implementation of the Ghana Medical Care Trust Fund, known as Mahama Cares. And the mandate of the task force includes developing a robust policy framework, designing a sustainable funding model, and establishing fair eligibility and disbursement criteria for the smooth running of the Mahama Cares. You know what I foresee? The next government, if it's not NDC, will try to change this name from Mahama Cares to something else, because that's what we do here in this country. But quick thoughts on the hike in food prices, not food, but fruits and vegetables in the Upper West region. And they're saying it's because of the fasting period. Amanda, let me take your thoughts on that, and then we can talk about Mahama Cares as well. Just these 2 stories. And then
I mean, I think...
Do you get the sense in what's happening there?
Well, not really, but I mean, I think everybody's feeling the pinch in terms of, you know, the hike in fruit and vegetables, as well as seafood.
Oh.
I was in a shop recently and I just couldn't believe what my total came to for the seafood. I think it was like 800 Ghana cedis, and I was shocked.
Did you say seafood?
Seafood, like
seafood is expensive everywhere.
Yeah, I mean it's expensive everywhere, but I was still a little shocked. I mean, compared to.
But in Ghana, it's exorbitant.
But we live
that's the difference.
By the sea, so one would expect.
By what percentage would you say it's increased? I mean, if you do buy seafood on a regular, it means that something's changed, right?
I know, but I'm not an expert in these things. But I mean, I would say one does feel the pinch at every level in society when it comes to vegetables, fruit, and seafood.
Right. I thought that it's because they're consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables. Usually when they're breaking their fast, they, start with fruits and vegetables. So perhaps that's why. And it shouldn't really cause a hike in prices, should it?
Well, demand and spike.
And I was just about to mention.
Term.
Yeah, but
there are two factors.
And it's the Upper West region. Well, Benjamin.
Actually, this is not new.
Yeah.
So there are two factors. One, seasonality. So is that particular fruit or vegetable in season? If it's out of season, it will cost more. And two, demand and supply issues. Economics will tell you that once demand goes up, then, prices will also go up.
Here's my element of surprise. So she said a big size of watermelon, which was sold last month for 15 cedis, is now sold for 60 and 50 cedis.
Oh, no.
That's not normal.
So it's exorbitant, but again, like I'm saying, it's not new. If you go to communities where there's a heavy Muslim population, you would realize that around this time, because everybody is breaking his or her fast, they start with some fruits before they go heavy and do maybe any other meals. So it will happen, but I think people are taking advantage of this situation.
That's the point I want one of you to make.
And overdoing it. But as for the prices escalating, demand means that once the demand is high,
I think that it's
prices will
Maritime authorities pay attention to how we exploit people when these things
But maybe a final point. It may also be that usually, let's say there are maybe 2 tons of watermelon on the market. Now, because of the Ramadan demand, people have to get maybe 5 tons, I'm just assuming, which means that where they are getting it from, whether it's a farm gate or something, those people will increase prices. They have to translate that increment in prices. They may have added too much, but it will have a cascading effect, and that is what the end user will have to.
Let's hear him out first.
First of all, most of these fruits and vegetables we are talking about are not in season. Right, so it means that there are not so many of them on the market for sale. Secondly, if you have followed the religious calendar for a very long time, you would understand that when we are in the month of Lent, and for the purpose of this discussion, Ramadan for the Muslim community, it means that there will be high demand in some of these fruits and vegetables, and additionally, sugar and rice. Now, these are commodities that are on high, the need.
You've forgotten to add oil.
Oh, yes, I mean oil. They are always on the high demand when we are in this Ramadan and month of Lent because of the nature of food we eat. And also because during the fasting we would dehydrate, we would need most of these fruits that has high water in them to be able to cushion our systems. So if you would ask me, the hike in prices is very normal when it comes to this season.
Okay.
Now, the element of greed is indeed part of the market behavior. You understand? The element of greed is part of our market behavior, because if the demand for a particular commodity, it's high, the business person would want to be able to get the profits and out of profit there and then. You understand? Which is wrong, but I mean, it's part of the market behavior. I mean, if you read books on
it's a free market.
It's a free market. I mean, so but you see, they should also introduce the human face and godly face into some of these things. You understand? I mean, we are fasting to pray to God for forgiveness and for growth, and yet you sit behind your desk and you would want to cheat. It's interesting. Okay. Now, aside these commodities, you would notice also that the sale of alcohol has gone down. Now, 1-2 days after this month of Lent and also of Ramadan, immediately the sale of alcohol shoots up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I just think that there should be a way to regulate these. And market behavior, demand, supply, whatever it may be, we should regulate this. 15 cities to 60 cities, it doesn't make sense anywhere.
Who will?
Now, just quick comments on this, Muhammad.
The government is not investing in food crops. They are not all their concentration is on cash crop. And so if government was supposed to push farmers to have interest in some of these products, farm produce, and to also into food crops, there would be a lot of them in the system. But our concentration is on the cash crops. At the end of the day, you will notice that most of these vegetables and most of these fruits are imported from neighboring Burkina Faso and other countries. But what do we see? They are talking about cashew, they are talking about cocoa, and nobody is talking about these fruits.
Right. Let's make progress. Quick comment on the Mahama Cares Technical Task Force. Looks like it's the strategy of this administration. They didn't just set out to do things. They put up a committee or a task force to, set out the way they want to handle this, bring some stalwarts to brainstorm and come out with policy framework. This Mahama Cares aiming to provide funding for chronic and non-communicable diseases. Amanda, any quick thoughts on this, and then we move on to other stories?
I think it's a wonderful initiative. I really do think that, when you have people in your family, for instance, who suffered from cancer, kidney or heart failure, you know what a personal tragedy it is for the family. And so this is a really good initiative to have a task force and to raise money internationally, because once it becomes a government initiative, then people like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and different sort of foundations can pour into that in the millions and literally save lives. Because when tragedies like this happen, particularly for kidney, dialysis and kidney, it is a monthly thing. It is something, if you don't have money for that particular month, you could potentially die, and you can't meet that appointment, and things like that. No, I mean, honestly, I know people who...
The phrase potentially dies.
You could potentially die. You could potentially die.
Oh, you could die. I mean, it's like, I say, Ube Wukakra.
You could potentially. So, I mean, it's a great initiative, and it reaches people who are in need, basically.
All right. Just some quick headlines here. Dr. Jasso advocates for support for African women in agriculture. Methodist Church Northern Accra Diocese inducts new men's fellowship executives, and electoral management bodies on continent urged to collaborate to ensure reduction in rejected ballots. GII reaffirms commitments to fighting corruption, and USAID employees ordered to shred records, court filing says. Let's do some other stories now. Amanda, should we do your paper? Is that the Daily Graphic?
Yes, the Daily Graphic, again, talks about Mahama Care launches. And it also talks about the budget, 2025 budget. And I think the head of PwC Ghana, who is Vish Ashiabo, Ashiabo, says very good things about the budget. And he says the budget speaks to the concerns that the business community has in terms of stabilizing the macroeconomic environment and creating an enabling environment for the private sector. He also says that the elimination of certain taxes raised questions about potential fiscal impact, but he expressed confidence in the government's multi-pronged approach to offset revenue losses, as you were saying. And he specifically said that the government said 3 things in the budget: cutting expenditure, plugging the loopholes by tightening commitments, and expenditure procedures, and releasing some funds from the tax refund account.
Right.
Yeah. And the second leading piece is, of course, GFA. I think the head of GFA is now on CAS, or CAF, basically. So, yeah.
Are those the only stories in there?
Well, those are the ones that...
You want to react to,
let's
listen to
Nana. First of all, on the Ghana Medical Care Trust, I think is a good call. As she said earlier, there are some of the illnesses or diseases that need very quick response, and the amount of money that is involved is so huge that the ordinary citizen will not be able to afford. But one thing I would also want to see as part of the medical care is the public education or public health sector. Please, they should be part of it, because most of these diseases could be avoided. I mean, the lifestyle of the ordinary Ghanaian could be touched on, and if we're able to deal with the public health aspect, it's going to help. We applauded Obama for Obamacare, and I think that if this is a good call, we should be able to applaud the government. And that doesn't mean they should forget about our health insurance that is already in the system. They should be able to put in some more funds to push it. As for the committees and the task forces, of course, that would have to be set up so that they are able to know their terms of reference. They should be able to know what exactly they are doing. Women in agriculture.
Yeah.
Great call.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you read our great transformational plan, we had stated in it that most of these religious bodies, the churches, they have vast land. They have so much of land in many areas. And I would not want to use the phrase they have idle money, but they also do have the resources to invest. And so if government is able to encourage them, give them certain incentives, and give them available and ready market, we can push some of these missions to actually invest in agriculture. And if they are going to invest, it means that their concentration should be on our our food crops and our poultry. There's so much market across. With regards to what Amanda read, I have said that the private sector is the way to go. The private sector is the way to go. But the point is, how do we attract them? We should be able to have clear and unambiguous incentives available for these people. Now, if we are able to make them understand that these are the incentives, these are the benefits, most of them are ready and willing and have access to resources for expansion of their businesses. And once they are able to expand their businesses, it means that they are able to recruit more people. Now, if we are able to say that, all right, if any institution is going to recruit, like, say, 20 new or fresh graduates, all right, these are the incentives available, the tax benefits that the organization is going to get. You will notice that these organizations will be ready to absorb these 20 people and benefit from the incentives and expand their businesses. Okay. If let's say an organization adapts or agrees to mentor a new or fresh SME or smaller organization set up by fresh graduates, these are the incentives that organization is going to get. We're going to find a lot of them available, and it will deal with the issue of job creation whatsoever. If you monitor the X space before the budget reading, you will notice, I've stated it on a lot of platforms, the conclusion I made from all the questions the young people were asking and all their contribution was, Mr. Atofos, how do we get jobs? You understand? So they should be able to have...
That's the argument that Penyo Makin was making. I was listening to him saying that he was expecting that the 24-hour economy will be, presented in the budget.
Oh, well, no, of course, what I'm saying
I'm just
it's
giving some more
presented. The
context.
highlights of it were provided. All right, is the details that we
Hold on a second. You said that it looks like what the young people were looking for are jobs, and I'm saying I think that's what the point of Penyo Makin was making.
Yeah,
in
of course, absolutely,
that, so
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And mostly, you see, when you have been given an opportunity, all right, to deal with an issue, and you reluctantly let that opportunity slide, and somebody just comes up with the prelims or starts to deal with the matter, and you already begin to punch holes, I have issues.
But is that not the work of opposition? Should we
no,
wait?
That is not the work.
Should we wait? How long should we wait before they start
that is not the work of
punching
opposition.
loopholes? Let's hear Amanda.
But for me, for job creation, we touched on this last week when we were reading the newspapers, I think on Independence Day, that for me, it's just too much pressure on any government to, and yes, they did promise to create thousands and thousands of jobs, which they will, I'm sure, try. But another way the government...
They have to.
They have to. But another way the government can also go is this entrepreneur angle, in terms of you can teach a person how to fish and they can fish for themselves. And sometimes it is not waiting for a job, but creating your own job in terms of it costs the equivalent of $12 to set up a website. attract people online with marketing, find the niche where nobody is at. What is the need? If there is a need, people will buy, as we've discussed with watermelons, etc. You see what I mean? So it's online, you know, access to people is mainly online, so you don't have to do 419 scams. You can literally access internationals coming into Ghana, you know, needing a service. It's just some rare niche that people actually need. And so I think for the government and for any future government, job creation is also about entrepreneurship, teaching people how to fish for themselves, and getting them online, marketing themselves, building their own websites, writing their own content, and identifying the absence of something creates a need, which creates...
Talking about jobs, something I saw over yesterday about the Youth Employment Agency creating two separate apps, one for employers, one for job seekers and, you know, employers. And comments pouring in suggest that we don't actually need two separate apps.
Oh, of course.
Whatever it's worth, we have apps like Indeed and is it Vifa or so that already, they cater to a global market. So if you're going to do something specifically for Ghana, do you need two separate apps for employers? What are your thoughts on that?
You need access.
So I want to know what you think.
We do not need two separate apps. I think prior to the elections, all right, Movement for Change had launched an app, the 3MG, 3 million jobs, and it was accessible to the employer and the employee, all right? So you upload every detail of yours and your expertise and the areas that you're good with, your skills. Those without certificates had places for skills and talents and all of that. And the employer also had access to be able to look through so you do not need two separate apps. But you see, the problem is our economy entrepreneurial friendly? That is the point. If we have the enabling environment to attract, you're talking about $12 to set up a website. Yes, that is less than 200 Ghana cedis, if I'm not mistaken. Fair enough. That is not the only thing you need. You will notice that you would end up probably needing about 2,000 or 3,000 to set up a whole business, you know, something, okay? But if we indeed have access to credit, affordable credit, if we have access to affordable credit, almost all of these young entrepreneurs would be able to have some baseline money to start their businesses.
Yes, but I think the debt is too high. Like, for instance, I, as an entrepreneur, I have never taken any debt, and I started with less than, you know, 10,000 CDs or whatever it was when I started.
I can't
no, honestly, let me just finish on that. But I honestly believe people can even get on, for instance, if it's a POP designer, a painter, different things like that. There are so many good ones, and I'm building, so I'm kind of, you know, discovering. There's so many good ones, but I'm shocked to see that they didn't get on like online forums where there's a list of painters, etc., and then people can rate them and different things like this, because you can just have to Google, for instance, a POP designer, etc. So once you get yourself out there and you have this massive like footprint online, it does help. And I don't think one needs that initial 2,000 CDs, because if you advertise yourself and you are reached, you can get that 2,000 CDs from the first client.
Amanda, I was surprised you to know that some people don't even have that, whatever it takes to advertise themselves. Some people genuinely cannot afford. Some people earn just about 100 CDs a day.
I know that. I know that for sure.
You have no idea.
A day?
No, not a day, a month.
Not a day. Laborers is a day.
Some people do that. Maybe you can afford it, but some people generally cannot.
Let's speak to reality.
No, reality is.
Speak to reality.
No, but she's not wrong.
The world is online. Reality is the world is online. Reality is we don't have that sort of network system as we used to as much. So people go online to access people. And you know, a lot of people's businesses are built because people can access them online, be it lawyers or different...
Amanda, if I have a deco company today, an interior deco company, and you need an interior designer for your office, and I have not done any job per my profile, but I have all the beautiful pictures, in this world as part of my setup. Amanda, would you recruit me to do your interior design for you?
Well, I go off people's pictures online, and I do hire them. I do go off
with no experience.
I mean, they say they've got that experience, so I test them out.
We need to create that enabling environment for mentorship. We need to create that enabling environment for access to affordable credit. This is very key. You understand? And that is the work of government. A business loan today.
And I land on this first. So
yes, I'm just landing. A business loan today is within 35 to 45%. Okay? But if we would have the financial institutions saying that you finished school, you did, let's say, BTech, building a technology. So you've decided to set up a small construction company. All right. Now you'd want to bid for a business. So you've had something to do. You want to do something for yourself. All right, come. We'll give you a single-digit loan. Let's say 5% interest or 2% interest.
Which is unheard of.
Now, no, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a policy Bank of Ghana or the finance minister could push and say the financial institutions, after declaring their profit after tax, and you were able to take, let's say, or make available 20% of that amount of money, all right, for this particular program for entrepreneurs, all right, and out of this, these are the benefits you're going to get as a financial institution. We would have most of these banks making available credit at an affordable rate.
Okay.
And that is where we can grow some of these young ones.
Well, let's congratulate Keto Kreku.
Yes.
I think it's a big win. Keto Kreku.
The same person that is collapsing.
Ghana football.
Ghana
Is he collapsing?
That is what we are hearing.
If he was collapsing, and how did he end up there?
That's a gentility outside, whom cry.
Say again.
I ran for GFA president.
You did? Yes. You ran for GFA president?
Yes, I was the first.
They are lost because you would have made a fantastic president. Any more story? Benjamin, any more papers with you?
Well, the Supreme newspaper, I started from there, so I'll not go back to the Ken Ofori-Atta story, but Baba Sam's lawyer, Kwesi Finn, in trouble over repeated murder allegations. I will skip that story. No unnecessary appointments, Mahama on deputy ministerial selections, and let me just get into it. So President John Dramani Mahama has reiterated his administration's commitment to maintaining a lean and efficient government by appointing only essential deputy ministers. And of course, we saw that yesterday with that minister who was also outdoored, if you like, together with 13 newly approved deputy ministers. The Ken Ofori-Atta story has been flogged. Trump fires top U.S. General C.Q. Brown in shakeup at Pentagon. I found this interesting. I guess the dynamics are the same everywhere. So U.S. President Donald John Trump has fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, C.Q. Brown, the highest-ranking officer in the country, as part of a major shakeup of top military leadership. He thanked him and mentioned that 5 other top officers were also being replaced. General Brown was the second black officer to hold the post, the holder of which advises both the President and the Secretary of Defense on national security. Now, what's interesting is that U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had previously said that General Brown should be fired because of his woke focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the country. So those are some interesting stories from there. If you take a look at the New Republic newspaper, fasting and lying, U-turn caught in gamble tax dodge. Then NCC boss busted in U.S. visa scandal, and 2025 budget statement. In fact, let me just get to that. 2025 budget statement, mediocre minority hypnotized as Atoforsen poo-poos 5.7% Galamsey-induced growth hyped by lazy Baumia boys. That's quite a title, isn't it? You can get details from that story. There's also 2025 budget unveils Forcenomics, a shift in economic strategy, focus on accountability. And this bit, so NCC boss busted in U.S. visa scandal. I'm talking about what the paper claims to be some shocking revelations that have emerged linking the executive director of the National Commission on Culture. They've written here National Communication. National Commission on Culture, Nana Otu Owahene Achampong, also known as Gilbert Franklin King, to a major visa scandal involving the United States Embassy in Ghana. So you can check out more details of that story as well. I'll just focus on this for our discussion. U-turn caught in gamble tax dodge, fasting and lying. A startling revelation has stirred political and religious disbelief as former finance minister and devoted Muslim Amin Adam, if you attempted to evade blame for the controversial gamble tax, as the story claims. It goes on and on, but we know the details about it. And now what has emerged per Dr. Kasilato Forson, the finance minister, what has emerged in terms of, in fact, some people have put out their betting, sheets and the taxes that accrued. There's also the bit about how much was yielded, which Dr. Kasilato Forson, Seth Tekpe, when I hosted him yesterday, have also made mention of. Today we'll be hosting one of the stalwarts when it comes to, I don't want to mention his name, the economy from the NPP's end, and we'll be asking those very salient questions. But over to you, lady and gentlemen. Any quick thoughts? I'm done with my papers.
Interestingly, Bossman, I call him Anta. Dr. Amin is a brother, and I think it was just out of the heat of the matter that he made that.
The heat of the moment?
The heat of the moment, sorry.
But how can the heat of the moment, because some of what we are seeing...
No, you see, some of these things, he was just being economical with the truth and playing politics, I think. But I think he got it wrong. It's just like me saying that I'm bad with colors, though, that you are wearing a red suit and the whole world knows you. That is not a red suit. You understand me? I think...
If you do that, you expose yourself, do you not?
And the unfortunate aspect of it is that he had been a finance minister. He had been in charge. And so he could not have said that he had not seen the books or gotten the data before. Before he exited, he read the budget. And the budget includes revenue. And if it includes revenue, it means that it would include the sources of revenue. You understand? So he couldn't have said that the amount of monies that they had gathered, all right, out of the betting tax was so small that he did not take notice of it.
But it wasn't to say that the amount was so small. It was to say that we collected nothing.
No, that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. Let's say that he didn't see it. No, but what surprises me is those who even spoke after him. All right,
in the Dr. Gideon Buakos and others,
who spoke after him, knowing very well that these individuals were on political platforms saying that you would take away betting tax,
abolish it.
No, I'm using the roadside English. You would take away betting tax. You be ye free. That was the popular phrase. You be ye betting tax free. You be ye e-levy free. Dr. Baumia was not in support of e-levy. He was not in support of betting tax. So, to what were you speaking? So let's assume that Anta, as finance minister, was so busy and he never mentioned it. Afterwards, what you ought to do is to be able to call him that, Honorable, these are the facts, these are the figures. And then he goes to correct himself. But for 24, 48, 73 hours, you all go back, sit down, rehearse, come to defend the indefensible. That is what shocks me. And these are very young people who tomorrow would have the opportunity again to play certain vital roles in society. Is this what we should be expecting of them? I mean, aside everything, I do not think that they would even have the moral rights or grounds to be able to speak on some of these issues again. We don't have to play politics with some of these things. I am not in support, personally, all right, Ben, I am not in support of us taking away the betting tax.
Right.
I am not in support.
Now, we have to...
Why? Because, you see, taxes are not only taken for the purposes of generating revenue. We also put taxes on...
I think you've espoused these thoughts before, and we are fully aware of...
Yes, yeah. I mean, but...
some taxes are even described as sin taxes in a way. If you do certain things... If you want to consume a lot of alcohol, tobacco, yes. There are... I mean, and if you want to bet...
If you read now...
We could go into those.
In Italy, if betting below 500 euros is about 8%. Above 500 euros is about 20%. You understand me? Why? Because they just want to stop the young people from indulging in betting. Let's deal with the matter. But for you to say that there was no betting tax at all, oh, Abba, Anta, Zomnawale.
Do you have any reactions on those?
No reactions. I mean, I think just because the news just broke about Kenneth Riata last night, and I read it this morning, that's a bit more on the forefront of my mind. But, you know, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is, I think, dealing with 5 cases in particular when it comes to Kenneth Riata. The SML deal, the Beijing contract, as well as the district ambulance matter and out-of-use taxes, etc. But, I mean, for me, I just think that it is for the law to deal with. But I also think that, you know, politicians should also bear in mind that just as it was said that the former Deputy Finance Minister, there was a witch hunt per se against him, I don't know if this can be considered a witch hunt when there's so much on the table against this gentleman. But in terms of politics and having sat at the Attorney General's Department where we literally got different parties coming into the Attorney General's Department, the climate changes. And so should this government leave in 8 years or 12 years or whenever, should this government leave, they have set a precedent for me, because I've never seen this level of, you know, going after someone. And should they set this precedent, it will similarly be done to them. And it will be this vicious cycle. So although I really do believe in anti-corruption movements and exposing the rot and everything else, I just really think any major policy should be about generating funds, moving the economy forward, etc., and less than 8% focus should be on recouping debt and doing it in a way that is effective and not necessarily this public sort of witch hunt. Get the money back if you have to. But in the climate of change...
Did you just say about 8% on recouping debt?
No, 8% of your energy, meaning that the energy should be more focused on how are we going to get income for Ghana? How are we going to ensure...
But part of oral, you talk about getting income for Ghana. Part of oral is to ensure, in fact, I have heard activists talk about the fact that it's not so much of incarcerating. Our laws allow for, in some instances, you can be both incarcerated and you will pay, there'll be punitive measures as well. So the focus is more on recouping.
Well, that's exactly
funds.
What I just said,
and
recouping the debts.
If anybody has dabbled in corruption and has reaped where they have not sown, those sums then go into, I don't know whether there will be a specific kitty designated, and those bits can be used for development.
Yes,
look at the USAID money, for example, that we're not getting.
My speciality in practice, I mean, now it's more civil, but my speciality, what I was trained in, is criminal, and particularly within the UK. And all I'm saying is once you have high-value, white-collar crime at such a level, emphasis is always on a silent operation in order not to spoil the investigation, and you make sure you document, you listen to things, people don't even know they're being investigated half the time. And by the time you're ready to land on them, the US does this, the UK does this very well. By the time they file, the entire operation has already been established. And so that's
Amanda, I understand you.
Do you see what I mean?
I understand you, but this is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
In Japan, I have followed such proceedings and how they sprang up on some people right at the tail end when they had gathered all. In fact, this is not even about the West or the East or how it's done. It's about general practice if you want to nail high-collar criminals, white-collar criminals. But the point also is, in our jurisdiction, there is the optics of it. And when you come out with something like, you have to give the benefit of the doubt and look at it from different angles. There is oral. You've come to speak about oral. You must be seen to be working. Yes, in some instances, there may be propaganda, but there's a certain value. Remember, under Atta Mills, right? part of the criticism was that they did not nail people who were seen or supposed to have engaged in some robbery of state coffers. That's in the past. Whatever the situation may be, it mustn't be gung-ho, it mustn't be over the top, but if there is reason with sufficient backing to believe that someone has dabbled in some nefarious activity and that person's house has to be searched, get a warrant, get the right things done. It's neither here nor there about if it is done now, it will be done later. It matters not in this equation. Because if you do it, you know what the consequences will be.
For me, it is not about the search because, as I said, our Constitution provides for exceptions of where a search can be done. And, you know, national security, in my view, from a legal perspective, had the right to do this because this is public interest and it's to do with security. So in that sense, absolutely not, you know, they had a right to even go after him potentially without a warrant. It's open to debate because now it's in court. What I'm saying is the effect of bringing before the Ghanaian people that you have actually collected $20 million US because of these efforts and because of this, because of that, is more of the emphasis than this sort of international tainting of people's name before a trial has been done, etc., etc. You get such evidence, you present the money you're recouping for Ghana, and that, for me, is far more effective
the last point I will
than
make,
this sort of public...
the last point I will make, Amanda, the law has different reasons why it is applied. One of them is not just punitive, it is preventive.
Of course.
And sometimes when you see your neighbor's beard on fire and you've engaged in something, do you know, for oral, some people have been called upon and they've been told, listen, generally, if you know you've engaged in X, Y, and Z, if you know you have what does not belong to you,
give the house back.
Bring it back and we can negotiate.
I absolutely know that.
So again, when you go back to the optics, it may be about, okay, so this is, my neighbor's beard is on fire. How do I avoid my beard getting on fire? If I've stolen $2 million, hey, Abai Musikani, leave me alone. Let's negotiate this. Plea bargaining and all of that. So I still
yes,
the office of
the special prosecutor.
There are different angles to the conversation.
Yes, the office of the special prosecutor should, as is their mandate, I think, from what I remember last time, highlight the cases they are doing, and they've highlighted that they are doing 5 cases against Oferiatta, etc. And the policy of oral is to recoup the loot, which is wonderful. But again, the emphasis should be on income generation and moving this government forward, and not too much on this propaganda. Because once you recoup $20 million plus, I mean, somebody said 3.1 billion. I think the foreign minister was saying, we've analyzed the whole of oral policy and this is like a 3.1 billion loot on 15 cases. Wonderful. So silently do your operation, bring the money, and so Ghanaians will praise you even more. But focus on the youth, entrepreneurship, employment, and different things, because it almost screams like a smoke screen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So just focus on how are you going to income generate and stick to your manifesto and bring out your manifesto, and not all this propaganda. Because if you do get the money, and if you are doing things to get the money, because this is about extradition and different things, which sometimes has to be done silently.
Right.
You see what I mean?
And propaganda is relative. Nana, your quick thoughts on that?
Yes. So we would be here when we have so many state agencies trying to fight one thing, trying to fight corruption. If you are able to consolidate, all right, put all of them together and have a one body that fights corruption, it would help us. At least it would help to state clearly the procedures that we need to follow. The argument will be that the procedures...
Pardon my interjection. Why do you think we need one body? Nowhere do you have such a situation where there's only one body tackling corruption. Not in the US, not in the UK, not in France,
so
not in...
if we are able to establish an anti-corruption czar where we would have a consolidated body that is dealing with the matter. And I'll give you an example, not just the Ken Ofori-Atta's case. We have cases where special prosecutor says that the file was given to me empty, where Iyoko says that there was documents in it, where the CID says that we didn't pick the person up. Even Ken Ofori-Atta's case. Who instructed the general... Richard, I forgot his name, Japa, to go into the house, first of all. As who, as what?
Exactly.
Now, the national security, no, you see, the national security comes out to say one thing, special prosecutor says another. Now, the Attorney General also comes out to say another thing. But if we had one body where we all know the instructions are coming from, we will not be here today. The point is, what is the end? Is
it because we have all these bodies, or is it sometimes because
so they are contradicting themselves?
Politics? Because, like you asked,
they are contradicting.
What was Richard Japa doing there? What was he? And again, let me make it clear. Let me make it clear that I'm not supporting going to someone's house without a warrant and all that jazz that happened. That is unlawful.
No, I'm excited.
But the point too is that these claims about one entity. I think we have the right institutions. It's just that we are not letting them work.
Understand,
that's it.
But there is no coordination.
There's no coordination.
And for there to be a coordination, when consistently you have tried to bring about coordination and it doesn't come true, then what you do to solve the matter is to consolidate them and give them a clear mandate.
Which bodies do you think we should consolidate in fighting?
We have YOCO, we have the BNI, also have the NIB, who also have some issues dealing with them. We have the special prosecutor. We have I think some part of the office of the Attorney General. I mean, if we are able to put all of them together and have one body dealing with it, I think it's going to be fine. I also insist, a body like the Auditor General's Department, they do not have a prosecution power, but they go to write their reports, and all they do is to present it to the Public Accounts Committee, and they leave it there. How all of these monies go into the drain? What is the end result? As Amanda was saying, to me, is the money we need. We have spent $58 million to dig a hole. Somebody going to jail for causing financial loss is not my issue. Government is going to spend my money to feed that person in jail again for probably over 5 years or 6 years, for another government to come and he will say that he's ill and is under medical conditions and will be granted amnesty and come out of jail and come and enjoy the money with the family. No. We should find a way to recover that 58 million if indeed the person is guilty. Getting the money back is what is important to me. If you go to my village in Dominasi in the Bekwai constituency, the SDA hospital there has been there for ages. It needs to be attended to. If I get $1 million today, that hospital would come back to life. You understand me? Ben, I know in your village, you have some infrastructural deficit. The person going to jail is not my matter. They are going to play gymnastics with us. You see, Ken came, I don't know if he's in town, but his lawyers have sued Japa. The Attorney General or the National Security will not let it go. They are also going to counter sue. And it will be sue every day. We go to court. Huh?
But I don't believe in the concentration of power when it comes to...
We need to find a way to deal with this.
Yeah.
My call is for us to get our money. The gentleman who was part of this banking scandal thing that collapsed a lot of banks and was sent to jail. Atuesen, not being able to pay. If I were Attorney General today, is the person having the ability?
He did make some payments, though.
Yes,
in the end, for me, it took too long.
Defaulted.
He was not able to meet certain payments at a point, which then...
The point is,
but I think you're preaching to the choir. We are all in agreement.
Has he got the ability to be able to get the resources to pay?
Actually...
People default.
Nanayo, you know the biggest problem when it comes to all of these? The biggest problem is what you're making, you are simplifying. The biggest problem is recouping loot. Else, it wouldn't be that in Nigeria, do you know how long it's taken for some of those sums of money to be repatriated back to Nigeria, from Babangida to all of these other people? We're talking billions of dollars. We're talking Swiss banks. We're talking banking institutions and other. That is the most difficult part. That is why the threat of, if you are proven guilty, and we say, this is what you've looted. If you are not able to come up with it, if we can't access the money, then you will go in the cooler. But the best option, which is what any legal brain will pursue is to recoup the money and, if possible, charge you as well. It may be that then, if you cooperate, we can recover the money and maybe lessen your sentence. But that is that.
You know the problem Ghanaian banks face? We have the lazy man approach. The lazy man approach is that they have the money. Instead of giving loans to the business entities and to the farmers to invest, they will give it to the month and salary earners. So that is the same way our lawyers are behaving with the Attorney General's back. You understand? Instead of them to put energy in identifying the properties and the other assets of these individuals and we auctioning them to gather our money, the best way, the person has defaulted. Let's take the person into the cooler.
But for me, I think it's about...
This should be a final point.
I mean, my final point is dissipation of assets is a big deal in terms of money moves fast, money moves to different countries. And so once you have a silent operation, by and large, you can try and recoup the loot more, which is the whole point of these large-scale operations. And in terms of your point about the concentration of power in terms of all criminal arms being one unit, I don't agree with that because it's an indirect way of having checks and balances. You know what I mean? And so if you had too much concentration...
What if that unit gets corrupted? What happens?
Well, that's why you have the other unit. You have the Office of the Special
Prosecutor. No, you're not
Prosecutor.
getting me. What he's saying, if you have a central unit and the people there get corrupted, then what happens?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just reinforcing your point. It's not a...
But then we can't move from here.
Okay, let's go. I have to put this out. So the Ghanaian Times is saying that effective 17th March, the cover price of the Ghanaian Times newspaper will increase to 8 Ghana cedis to meet the high cost of production. They express their gratitude to their cherished readers. And that's our time. We have to go. Ben?
Well, thank you very much, guests, for joining the conversation. Amanda Clinton is head of Clinton Consultancy. Nana Sapong is with the Movement for Change. And the AM show, of course, is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Well, I have a name for you. Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such an investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit right here in Accra. So I'm inviting you. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. And we're providing quality housing at an affordable cost and also with flexible payment options. At Waylead Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay memorable. Give us a call now on 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit us on www.waylead.org.
Well, let me tell you about Ishmael Yamson and Associates because they have some announcement for you. Every year, thousands of Ghana's brightest minds seek better prospects abroad, leaving a gap in our workforce. The question is, how can Ghana inspire its talents to stay? Join David Ofosudote, Professor Mary Sentrana, and His Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former president of Mauritius, at the 12th edition of the Ishmael Yamson and Associates Business Roundtable to discuss managing the talent exodus, leveraging private-public partnerships. The date is the 7th of... It's at Labadi Hotel, starting at 9 a.m. sharp. And to register your attendance, text your name and organization to this number, 0530-117-202, or send an email to info@ieyamson.com. Well, stay because sports comes up next with Haruna Mumbarak.
Good morning, let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, criminologist Dr. Jones Opokuware has called for better protection of Nsatreman FC after their bus was attacked in Kukuom, Ahafo region, ahead of the match against Samatex. Now, this follows the tragic stabbing of the Asante Kotoko fan Francis Pole in Nswatre during a previous game. Speaking on Live FM, Dr. Opokuware urged the Ghana FA to take stronger action to resolve the ongoing tensions between the two clubs.
The team actually needs to be protected. In the same way, we also need to protect the fans. And I'm thinking that this is why I'm talking about the fact that we have to move straight into building the bridges. We must take leadership, especially from the leaders of the two teams and also from the federation.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that once they do that and reassure, the members, the supporters, and get the leaders of the two teams to sit down and talk, and those that we think actually contributed to the death of our brother actually accept that, look, we accept some form of responsibility and we are ready to help you, to heal. I think that the supporters will definitely come around and everybody will have some form of understanding that, look, this thing unfortunately has happened. Move on, okay? But if we don't do that and think that, look, once we've buried the guy, everything should naturally die off. I'm telling you, it is not something that is going to die off, because I've told you that, look, in this country, people don't easily forget. Okay, people want to be reached out to, people want to be talked to. So I'm thinking that we need to do that. Get the two teams, the leaders, to sit down, in a very nice way, in a cordial way, and then reassure them that, look, we agree that we have some role to play in whatever happened, and we are going to assist the police and assist you to get the justice that we need for our brother. And then we're able to keep the supporters along. And trust me, once we do that, we get the buy-in of everybody, and the security of the team can be guaranteed. And also, even when they are playing, I'm expecting more from Nsuatre, especially before the games. Okay, if there is I think following up on the issue, since it came up, I have not seen much of from the Ghana Football Association in terms of showing leadership, and in terms of leading this whole thing and getting it resolved. I feel that, you see, once it involves the loss of lives, and in the manner that it happened, Ghana Football Association, especially the leadership of the federation, should be taking a keen interest, especially in helping to build bridges, especially between the football team Kotoko and also in Nsuatre. I think that once we leave the other side to the police for them to deal with the criminal aspect of it, they should also find a way of building bridges, because if we don't do that, what is going to happen is that whilst we wait for justice to be done for our brother who is gone, people can take advantage, undue advantage of whatever is happening, and then also use it as a way to cause mayhem and to achieve certain criminally, motivated, ambitions that they already have. So I think that I'm expecting the federation to take a more leadership role in terms of...
Because honestly...
Leader of the FA, Kurt Okraku, has pledged to work tirelessly to promote and develop football across the African continent. This follows his election to the Executive Committee of the Confederation of African Football. Kurt was elected uncontested to serve on the CAF Executive Committee for the next 4 years and be part of the continent's powerful decision-making body. In a statement shared on his official Facebook page, Kurt expressed his deep sense of duty and commitment to the advancement of the sport on the continent, promising to serve with dedication and integrity. So Kurt will be part of the body that would ensure this year's AFCON in Morocco will be successful, a tournament that was belittled by Liverpool defender Jamie Carragher. Since then, his comment of dismissing the event as a major competition has received backlash, especially from ex-internationals. Now, the latest to respond is Osei Kufuor, who did not mince words.
I think his statement, he himself, what has he achieved? Do you think that somebody will just even give us a name to his son as a role model to, I'm naming you Carragher because he was a good player? No. Carragher was just a normal player. If Carragher wasn't born in Liverpool, did he have a chance to play in Liverpool? No. If Jamie Carragher go to probably in Italy, or will he have a chance to play Milan or play Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich? No way. Because he is English. He was born there. That's why he had the opportunity to play there. Why didn't he even transform to Arsenal, Manchester United, and the other clubs? Because he's not good enough. Yeah. Honestly, Jamie Carragher, has he won even man of the match in his career before? Jamie Carragher, has he won a man of the match in his career before? Has he been selected in the best player of the league before?
No.
The first 11. Has he been selected the best defender in Europe before? No. He hasn't been in the team of the week before. Come on. Yeah. So if Jimmy Carragher is talking, I mean, those are the things that we don't listen.
Yeah.
Ferdinand, John Terry, and those people, they're supposed to talk, not you. What has he achieved? Jimmy Carragher, please. If we are talking about players, Mourinho said, if we mention the names, if we mention about 1,000 defenders, Jimmy Carragher won't be part of it. That's what Mourinho said, but I would say 2,000.
Oh, Carragher went too far, and he's having he's having the beatings of his life.
No. Jimmy Carragher is it's nothing.
Yeah,
he's just talking. He's just talking because he had the opportunity to sit on TV and talk. And even that day, he should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
Some of his colleagues were telling him.
Yeah.
I think Richards and
Sean Wright Phillips.
No, it was Sturridge.
Daniel Sturridge.
Yeah, Sturridge was telling him to whatever that he says is not right, but he still insists because he didn't respect. He has to respect us because how many African players have made a great impact in Premier League?
Yeah.
He is talking about the coaches to win the Premier League. Did he play when he was playing? Did he win Premier League?
No.
So what is he talking about?
Interesting. Meanwhile, the Black Stars will not be participating in this year's Africa Cup of Nations. But the team has actually got 2 upcoming matches against Chad and Madagascar in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Now, head coach Otuado has paid a courtesy call on Garmanche King Taki II, seeking his blessings ahead of the 2 matches.
To seek for your support, for your guidance. We have difficult matches, difficult tasks ahead of us. I think the Ghana nation, the Ghanaian nations needs urgently a victory or victories to go to the World Cup, and for that, I think we need the support of all Ghanaians, especially also the GA people and the GA chief, to support us in our task so that the whole of Ghana can be happy and everybody will be joining us if we go to the World Cup.
Yeah. Now, Afro Bashu Bian. Yeah. I can hear Hoy. Yeah. You will come in. Yeah. The danger wala. Yeah. You know to Mona Fisherman. Yeah. Any Nagba Raji again. Yeah. Any Bachini Raji again. Yeah. Any book or ten, any Aleno way, by Aji Fair. Yeah. Nanya Chonjan Kehu. Yeah. You will laugh, no. Attract no can. Yeah. To have finished. Yeah. For fear grammar. Yeah. No Manyamla. Yeah.
Now, tonight, we've got the highly anticipated Joy Sports National Dialogue, which kicks off at 6 p.m. Top personalities, including former Black Stars defender Anthony Bafo and former Manchester United scout, now founder of Right to Dream Academy, Tom Vernon, will speak on governance, funding, and infrastructure regarding sports in Ghana. Nathaniel Atto has been speaking on the main goal of the dialogue.
We do realize that in our communication, we confirmed 2 more contributors. So we have 3 main speakers and some contributors. So these contributors include the former Deputy General Secretary of the Confederation of African Football and a Ghanaian football legend, Anthony Bafo, who led the Black Stars to the 1992 Africa Cup of Nations final. He will be bringing a certain perspective to this conversation. And of course, when it comes to governance, he's experienced it at the highest level. When it comes to organization, he's experienced it to the highest level. So all of these will be brought to bear in this conversation. Also, there is Malko Afajinu, who is an executive vice president of the African Table Tennis Federation, who will be bringing another very interesting and unique perspective to this conversation, in the sense that we have not many stakeholders have had any major conversation about the recreational element or the recreational element of the final operation of this rechristened ministry. So it is one of the key things that we're going to be looking at as well. And Mr. Malko Afajinu, who has been, very, very active in the administrative space in sport, who's now playing a big role on the African continent, will also bring their conversations to bear. So our 3 main speakers are ready. All other speakers and contributors are ready. As we have already mentioned, we're going to have a limited seated audience in the studios of Joy Prime. And we do hope that all of the takeouts from this major conversation are going to be adopted and factored in when we hit the ground running. The Youth and the Sports and Recreation Minister, Kofi Adams, is already engaging many stakeholders in the bid to want to hit the ground and start moving.
That's it for sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. The show continues right after this. Please stay.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us on the AM show. And of course, the AM show is brought to you by Waylead Properties. They ensure that we can bring you this show every morning. But getting right into our big stories this morning, the Akufo-Addo administration has been lampooned, has been criticized for misrepresenting the true state of Ghana's economy, leading to unrealistic expectations among citizens, as Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson has slammed the erstwhile MPP government for the lack of transparency about the country's financial challenges, making it difficult for Ghanaians to grasp the full extent of the economic crisis. Today, we unpack the issues as revealed in the 2025 budget statement of this new administration. What is truth? What is false? We'll get into the details with our guest, Dr. Stephen Amoah. He's legislator for the Nhyiaeso community or constituency. He is a member of parliament for Nhyiaeso. He joins the conversation this morning. He'll be sharing with us his thoughts on what the true state of the economy is and whether it is different from what picture has been presented both at the SONA and also per the budget statement as delivered by Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson. So we'll be getting into those details with him in just a bit, and we'll continue from there. So that's it for our big stories, and joining us, we have Dr. Stephen Amoah. Good morning, Doc. Anyway, let's get right into the details now.
Why this big sigh?
Well, it took a while to bring you into the picture.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it did. But anyway.
I was on Newsfile.
Oh, I actually followed you on Newsfile.
Ah, okay. Oh, this is your program. You be my friend and my brother.
Yes. It took a while to... But let's get into You were in Parliament. You followed everything. How did you find the budget statement as presented by Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson on the 11th day of this month?
Thank you. My regards to our viewers and listeners this very morning, and thank you for having me here. I think I had twofold picture. One, I saw the true picture of what the previous regime or government led for the NDC government to continue. And I also saw a picture of some sort of trying to paint a doom picture just to discredit the previous government. So that dichotomy, I did not really understand what exactly they wanted to paint. And I think within the second picture, that is the second fold B, I saw a lot of promises, or I read a lot of promises. Whether they are realistic or not, we are yet to also see. And surprisingly, they had a number of targets. Only, I think, 2 of them, in my opinion, that they set targets below what they presented to us. or what we left for them. So I found it very difficult, the angle they wanted to actually come out. But I also realized Dr. Atoforsen was very composed. I mean, for the first time doing something like that, I thought he was going to be inhibited, but I didn't see that. So in summary, this is what I saw.
I followed a bit of what spokesperson for the NPP, I'm talking about Richard Ahiagba, has said about the budget statement, some of his reactions. I just want to read verbatim. He said, he posted actually, and he had this to say: the finance minister has demonstrated excellent political optics so far. There are strong indications that some existing taxes will be withdrawn, as His Excellency John Dramani Mahama promised. And then he goes on to enumerate 3 things he was looking forward to. But you speak about doom and gloom. What part of it made you feel the picture was being painted of doom and gloom from the past leading into the present?
Yes, I think it will be fair to touch on the first one that I'll come to, if you allow me, please. You know, it was stated emphatically clear without any ambiguity in the statement that the most important performance parameter, primary macro parameter, is the GDP growth. Because it sums up almost everything about how the economy is doing. They stated 5.7%. And I take it very serious because of the comments preceding that by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and most of the NDC, including my own friend Dr. Atoforsen, that we had left even an economy which was almost in coma. It was at the ICU, intensive care unit. Then you come back to say that officially this is the figure. And that figure is far higher than 2016, where they left, which was 3.6. Some jurisdictions even quote 3.4. And then another most important factor was the debt issue. That the way we were made to believe that Ghana is finished, the debt we left. In any case, you cannot quote just the nominal value or figure of a debt and you think that is bad. No, you need to do that against the assets. And in the case of a state, against the GDP. And the debt to GDP they quoted was 61.8, which is far below 72.5 that they left for us as time to be corrected. So that was where I said that no, we're exonerated. They painted that true picture. Then
60,
the other side,
60 what?
61.8. Then the other figure, other doom that you are asking me, which I think is a very relevant question, is when they started painting, we left a situation where a lot of IPCs, I mean, they were talking about agencies' debt, you know, components.
Are you talking of the IPPs?
No, IPCs.
Okay.
When I'm saying agencies' debt, I mean, coming to road sector, coming to cocoa sector, coming to other agencies. I'm not saying that he was lying about them, because I was even having the figures at that time, and I don't think he would lie about those things. But then he knew that government or governance is about continuity. Development is a process. That anyone that takes over a mandate from another regime comes to meet debt. And you continue, because it's cumulative in nature. We came and met debt. You remember when we came, the area of roads. You remember, I mean, we had to do a performance audit, and there were a whole lot of chaotic and whatever. They were disputing what we were saying. We were also emphasizing and we're entrenching most of our points. So it's been the whole, I would say, cyclical cliche, if I should put it. So if you come and you behave...
The difference, just my apologies, would be that you came and met a debt of around 120 billion, and now our debt stock stands at 721 billion. That's an addition of about 600 billion.
So this is where I want to tell you that, one, they are in different contexts. I can explain that. But I want to tell you that right now, the owner of your multimedia can owe $1 billion. I can owe $100,000. But my situation is rather getting close to bankruptcy. My situation is a dying situation. Why? My assets, probably my company and my assets, have been consumed by my debt. But 1 billion, probably the assets they have. That's why you don't talk about the figure. You talk about debt.
I don't think, you know, when these conversations come up, and I listen to you on Newsfile talk about these same things, which is why I am just going to state this premise. I think it's trite knowledge that debt is not just debt for debt's sake. The Americans owe trillions of dollars. Every year, their GDP hovers around between 13 and about 15 plus trillion dollars. But they are one of the most indebted countries. Why are they still as prosperous as they are? Because of how they manage the sectors of the economy, also taking into consideration inflationary rates and all of that on the back of COVID. We saw how they dealt with some of these challenges. So the fundamental understanding is there that debt is not debt simply for debt's sake. It depends on what the money you've taken is being used for and how futuristically it can pay dividends on its own, pay for itself. So I don't think that is a discussion we need to have. Now. So just make the point on then the debt stock.
Do you know sometimes the problem? Do you know sometimes the problem I have? The problem I have with some of you is that what you are saying is perfectly true. I mean, I cannot argue because you are making the right point. But the issue is, respectfully, it's my field. I've come here. Allow me to explain, because you may want a direction which may not be very schematic when it comes to analyzing these things. The point I'm making is so clear. You cannot say I should stop talking about it. If you owe 1 billion and you have assets worth more than 1 billion, if I owe 100,000 and I have assets less than 100,000, then you can say that, hey, this is what is happening. That is what I'm saying. You can't talk about the value. Even your analysis about American issue exonerates or confirm or affirm what I'm talking about. So it's not...
I'm not actually disputing what you're saying. I'm reinforcing it by saying that this angle of the discussion has been flogged.
Of course, but you brought back the value. So I still have to go back to it. If you asked me yesterday what happened, and it was ABCD, and you asked me, and because what I said was the truth, I need to make sure that I emphasize that. But the point that I'm making is that let me tell you the different context. In any case, NDC government picked from Kufuor about 9.2 billion. They handed over 122 billion they are talking about. In terms of percentage increase in the value, I don't want to go there. It was over 100, it was over 1,000%.
Why don't you want to go there? It's a discussion we've had. It's good to go there.
If I go there, it's like I'm still going back. What I'm saying, we shouldn't really talk about it too much. But when somebody wants to deal with the figures, then I'll go there and put them down. That they did over 1,000%. But then move beyond this. What happened? What led to Ghana to that situation? When in appraising performance, there's something that's very critical, and that is uncontrollable factors. We had a situation post-COVID that is not only Ghana, but in Ghana here, government workers, i.e. civil servants and public servants, my brother, were asked to stay home, but they were paid. Have we forgotten? It happened for a few months, and then beyond the months, they run shift. Maybe 10 will go 2 weeks, another 10 will go another 10 weeks. For over 11 months, private sector then sacked over 40,000 people. Some of them wound up. We had revenue shortfalls of almost 12 billion. We had impaired productivity. Markets were not working. Ships coming up and down. If 10 coming, only one was coming within the same period of time. The global economy went so bad that the debt to GDP of the world post-COVID went to almost 300%. Inflationary rate change, the percentage change in inflationary rate, get me of the world, went beyond 200%. Definitely, a country that is economic, is import-driven economy, that we depend remarkably on foreign economies. What will happen to us? So people are forgetting the fact that we use debt financing and revenue we generate. And we have revenue shortfall of about 12 billion. We have statutory performances to have, and that's why the president then made a statement that if somebody dies, if you lose a life, you can't bring the life back. But if the economy gets back, you can restore it. So we're in a situation where our revenue was woefully impaired in terms of collection because the market had been impaired, productivity had been impaired. Debt financing was the most available option because we needed to save lives. We needed to make sure that statutory obligations have been performed. Health, infrastructure could even wait. But talking about health, talking about energy, talking about education, talking about other obligations. And we perform these things very well. And if you read even PFM Act 2016, I stand to be corrected, Act 921, Section 18, because of some of these uncertainties, that section of the Act and the subsections talk about the fact that there are 3 situations under which even fiscal rules or policies and other things for consultation should be suspended. 1, war. 2, natural disaster. 3, I think epidemic or whatever, that big time issues with health. So even the laws themselves create some sort of space for some of these things to be managed. So what we are saying is that if you have a situation where people were not working but they were paid, if you have a situation where private sector had collapsed, if you had a situation where, trust me, the market had been totally impaired and nothing was happening, the GDP was not growing, your debt to GDP will go up. But the good news is that after all these things happened in the world and happened in Ghana, and Ghanaians suffered, and there was a holdout. Holdout means issuers of bonds and securities came to the point that they could not perform the obligations again. So you need to resort to restructuring. That led to DDEP, extending the maturity and working on even coupons we pay. You know, all these things were very unpalatable to those who suffered, and I side with them. But they were uncontrollable factors. But beyond that, I want to end with this if you want to ask me a question. Beyond that, what did we see in 2024? Check the figures. We're able to restore most of them they were on the path of restoration to the extent that the economy that grew 0.4 or 5, when the world grew negative 3.3, we're able to restore to the extent that we're growing over 5%. The economy that inflation rate went to 54.1, we're able to bring it down to about 23. And check almost all the primary macro indicators. Our primary balance and our fiscal balance, indicators that were positioning us in a very good fiscal consolidation state. So we are not saying we didn't leave anything bad, anything troubling. But the fact is that our debt as of that time, I wouldn't say, some could also be maybe mismanagement, wastage. I cannot say that everything was about. But we were in a situation that right now, you are working, you pay your case fees, you do everything, you generate money. If you are married, your wife also does. And then something uncontrollable happens. And then the money you generate either go down soul or you don't even generate anything. Your wife too, you feed your kids. What will happen? Probably you go to people to take money to take care of your kids. There will be debt. But you wouldn't let your kids die. Practically, let us begin to appreciate this. Not that we don't acknowledge the fact that Ghanaians suffered.
Right.
That most of the things we didn't go wrong. Yes, they did. But mostly there were uncontrollable factors, and we made the right. And that's why the COVID. A lot of people did not die in Ghana. Okay. I sympathize with those who died. My condolences. But check all over the world. Countries that had a lot of fatalities compared that to Ghana. So I'm not saying Ghanaians don't have the right to complain, to be, castigating or doing anything bad to us. Okay. But we should also be understood from the point. I've
intentionally allowed you to expand
and
your
I'm sure
ideas
you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes.
I do understand, but the rest of us want to understand more. I'm going to hit you with a number of questions, so I want brief answers.
Okay.
But first, I want to start from, you're an economist, right?
Yeah, financial economist.
Great. I know you've done actuarial science and all of that. What makes for a strong economy?
What makes for a strong economy?
Yes.
I think you said I should make it brief. But such a question, you can't talk.
Just enumerate. I don't want the details. I want what makes a strong economy. As an economist, what are the things, the optics that you will look at and say, if you see this, if you see that, if you see this, and these metrics are good, they are high, they are in a certain perspective, then you can say the economy is likely strong.
If you want to really be very technical,
right?
First, your primary balance, where you deal with difference between your revenue expenditure and non-interest expenditures. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I get it.
An economy that the likelihood, the risk of being engulfed, overwhelmed with debt is 1. 2, economy that is very resilient, economy that can stand turbulence. 3, economy that we have sustainable jobs for the people, economy that, in my opinion, has this strong import substitution posture, that you don't depend on somebody's economy. I think, in my opinion, these are the major issues.
Right.
I mean, economy that is very stable.
Very important points you make, but also according to a lot of the literature I have read, you would be looking at things like functioning economic institutions. You can look at the central bank and others and their output. You would look at sound policies in respect of low taxes, a strong preference, if you like, of stable inflation. Stable inflation.
So they are all part.
You would look at, some would go the way of regulation as well, but we have a free market. So you would look at open markets. You would look at low unemployment rates. You would consider increments in home construction, which we have quite a deficit for. The deficit is about 1.8 million. You would look at optimism measured by consumer confidence, the indices, what they show. You would look at your exchange rate and some of these dynamics. So I'm sure you know where I'm headed.
Okay.
You can talk about GDP growth of 5.7%. It's a good thing at the macro level. At the micro level, some of these things I have mentioned are the very things that impact the ordinary person, the ordinary Ghanaian. Did you, in that regard, leave a strong economy?
The exchange rate.
I mean, I've mentioned a number of things on these factors.
Let me come here. If you look at exchange rate, what I said took care of that, talking about being import-driven economy, because it helps this exchange rate issues. And apart from country-specific challenges such as the black market that we haven't had a solution to, which we have to. If you talk about...
Is there a solution to the black market, though?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think all governments, including my government, haven't really gotten it right in terms of intentionality, confronting it. Either we find a way to rationalize it and officialize it and control it and absorb it into the official system so that we stop having a big variance between official rate and market rate, which is one of the big problems that even IMF and co raise, which we haven't done that. Because you know one thing about MPP and DC and all of us, including me, because we are always afraid of losing elections, certain decisions we don't take. And if we export almost everything, you get to that level. Then talking about unemployment, I talk about that. Talking about taxes where I did not. If you can give me a minute to explain these taxes.
Please go ahead.
Because you raised very important issues. I was going to raise all of that. I tackled the primary aspect. I was going to move into the secondary. Then you came with the secondary. Boss, when it comes to taxes, okay, both MPP and DC and Ghanaians, we need to have a new shift, a paradigm shift. We need to change our mindset. Now, it looks like even anything about tax is demonic because MPP wants to come to power. NDC will want to stay in power. So our tax policy management, we've forgotten the fact that it is calibrated in nature. When NDC guys want to bring new taxes, right now, you see my people, including even me. When MPP guys were in power and want to break taxes, you see what they do. And Ghanaians will follow because nobody wants to pay tax. But the issue is as a result of improper way of analyzing and managing our fiscal space. Okay. We always take that political decision. Our fiscal space has vital or essential ingredients, i.e. government expenditure, government programs, government this, government that, financing options. Do you have enough money from your revenue or you are borrowing too much? How do you harmonize them? So you remember that 2017, Akufo-Addo's government, former President Akufo-Addo's government, reduced or entirely took away certain tax items. They were, I think, about 12 or 17. You remember Cairo tax, real estate tax, medicines imported but not produced, those things. But later on, he started introducing taxes. Between 2014 and 2016, taxes that were increased items or introduced under NDC's government were over 20. I'm not saying they were wrong. I will never say that. we need to look at these things in the context of our situation. Do we keep on borrowing and destroy our country? Or we need to shift to the revenue aspect. People talk about widening the
tax net.
We've been saying this almost 30, 40 years. Am I lying? NDC and PP, the whole Ghana. Why can't we do it? Why?
Right. So
the reason being that if you look at the artisans in Ghana here, most of them, look, those who do carpentry, the person who did my kitchen in Kumasi, I don't want to mention the figure, about 7 years ago. Recently, somebody came to do TV, just to put my TV on. It was almost 14,000. Did the person pay tax? So we need to look at these and then loopholes, leakages from politicians through...
Which is why there's been talk about rationalizing the entirety of the system, including the tax regime and maybe even VAT and what the dynamics are. But let me make this quick point and then we'll go full throttle on taxes and then get into the other bits. Your administration, in terms of revenue, you had the largest opportunities when it comes to oil revenue from one field under the Atta Mills Mahama administration to 3 under your tenure. You had the ESLA, the sinking fund, the $250 million plus other boons that you got. You also had the same COVID-19 you make mention of. You got some 24 billion Ghana cedis on the back of COVID from the likes of Japan and, you know, other Bretton Woods institutions. You got all of those benefits. And then you talk about our debt and you say that the market was impaired. When you were engaging in, you know, rampant projects, Agenda 111, $400 million sunk in with practically no returns. A national cathedral project with about $50 million sunk in with no returns. 1D, 1F, 1V, 1D, free SHS. As for free SHS, its numbers are low, so I think we don't even need to add it in there. Why would the market not be impaired with the sort of management, how we managed the kitty? Why would it not be impaired?
In the first place, talking about market impairment is not about this one.
No, you're not getting me.
No,
I am not drawing clear lines. I don't want you to go down that road. I'm not drawing a delineation between these and definitely the market being impaired. What I'm saying is, with the debt situation, our debt profile, and all these other dynamics, why will our internal market not be impaired?
So what I'm saying, the impairment of the market I was talking about was not actually stemmed from this one. I was talking about a situation where some sort of a natural disaster had destroyed the world's market and Ghana's market. And the Ghanaians were asked to stay home. There was no activity.
So specifically, you were only specifying
No, that is what I was talking about. A situation where that made Ghana go into that unfortunate space, which other places we all went. That was it.
So that was the only focus? Because I'm extending the...
But even when I was talking, I didn't say that was the only. You remember? Okay. But if you want to extend it to this, then I give explanation. Okay. Because it wasn't this that impaired the market.
Our debt profile did not impact where we found ourselves?
Now you're talking about impact. You said impaired. Let's look at that. Let's choose our vocabularies well.
Sure.
If you're talking about impact, then I can explain.
Let's focus on impact.
But you focus on impact. Allow me to. It's impact.
Yes, focus on impact.
Thank you. Then it's a different ball game. Because you know how the world is. I know you mean well, but you know how now Ghana, small thing, they change it. Now let's pick Agenda 111. I'm surprised you're talking about Agenda 111 has no returns. Seriously? Agenda 111 is ongoing. One, even check Inyiresi between Kumasi and Accra Road. Have you seen it there? People were posting different stages, some of them 90%, some 50%, some 40%. It was ongoing. You see visibly the infrastructure.
How many years did Agenda 111 go on?
Do you know something? You said whole. Can you allow me to explain?
How many years? It's a part of the conversation.
I don't know.
How many years did Agenda 111?
I don't know. So let me explain. What I'm saying is that
it went on for more than 2 years, at least.
And so
111 projects.
Do you know something? Have you made up your mind that you have set up something in your mind?
No,
allow me.
No, I have not.
You know you're even talking more than I do. Boss, you stated about 4 things. Let me explain. If you don't want the program to be nice, go ahead. Because no, I will not allow you.
Let me just do this.
Boss, I will not, don't do that. I will not allow you.
This is my show.
Yeah, so you can let me go. You can say I should go. You stated 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I'm explaining. You say you let me explain.
I will allow you to explain.
No,
I'm not saying that I will not allow you.
What you are doing
I will allow
is
you
very
to
unfair.
You
this thing you guys do here, it's not right.
You did this with Samson Ladi.
Because you have prejudicial positions. This is what you are doing.
Everybody here has a prejudicial
because what you are doing is wrong. You ask somebody 4 long questions. Allow me to answer them. If you're not, let me go.
Sticker.
No.
Let me set this
precedent. You know the way I am. I'm very straightforward, nice person.
I intentionally let you have a lot of time to talk.
You asked Agenda 1. You asked Cathedral. You asked 1. So let me finish.
You did
don't
this.
come and ask me when the. No,
if you allow me to finish, you will continue.
No,
you did this with Samson Ladi and Yenini.
Because Samson Ladi.
And you've done it with me in the past.
No, Samson Ladi wanted me to concentrate on energy debt to appraise the whole economy. And I said that was not where we should start from.
Go ahead.
Boss, you asked.
Go ahead.
No, because of the question you asked. Let me finish that.
Go ahead. When you are done, I'll come through with other points. Go ahead.
Can I speak now?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I've given you the go ahead.
You said that Agenda 111 has brought no returns. So I was talking about, let me finish. You ask me again. Okay. But I don't start, then you come in.
Just make it
How
brief.
long?
Go ahead. Just make it brief.
You are asking questions. You don't ask briefly. You brief questions. Let me finish. There is a project going on. One, the structure we have has added to our GDP. If you are calculating GDP in any country of any country. So don't tell us it hasn't given us returns. Maybe you don't know that aspect. When you are calculating how we are growing, all the projects we have, where we're reaching, they add to it as a value. 2, it is capex. It's infrastructure. The most important aspect of every economy, the essential ones, education, health. Look at the hospitals we have in our country. Are they enough or not enough? So you can't say that ongoing projects haven't brought anything when they are ongoing. They've added to our GDP in terms of deriving direct benefit in terms of functions. We are getting there. They have about 90-something, whatever. The government should continue and finish. Now you come to Cathedral. Honestly, I am not against Cathedral because I'm a Christian. But I am with those who are raising concerns about how much has gone into our foundation. Because I also share with them, I think that money should be investigated. And people who are raising concerns are right, even though I'm MPP. 2, I personally think even the location is a problem. Having International Conference Center and having Parliament there, they could have taken it somewhere. So talking about the money in Cathedral is a huge concern that I share with those who are criticizing.
Right.
But of course, we need to finish investigation on that. Then you come to 1D1F. I'm telling you today, if you are talking about 1D1F, if it hasn't really attained its best expectation, probably we can analyze that. But in this country, we don't need anything more than building sustainable industries to create jobs and become economically dependent and build on so that our taxes will rather come from production more, which the then government had the best decision in the world. We have over 100 private companies supported by 1D1F, but it also has challenges that you are raising. I agree with you. So if you are talking about how we manage our policies, I agree with you. But anybody that wants to condemn 1D1F doesn't understand how a developing economy.
I don't think it's
no, I'm talking about in general, please. Okay. Not you.
All right.
Doesn't understand how a developing economy that is endowed with wide range of commercially viable raw materials, natural resources, human resource, skill component of the human resource, and we are looking forward to create the needed connection. Okay. I call it from farm to the factory. Okay. 1D1F is so much important. They come to free SHS. But for free HSS, over 100,000.
I think I made the point that even how much we spent there, as for how good a policy it is, we flogged that horse time without number. I have sat here and said it so many times. I've said that my problem has to do with part of the execution. So let's even leave it out, because even the sums of money going into free SHS are not that huge. Let's face it. So I even took that out. If you're done with those points, can I come in now?
Yes, please.
All right. What do you call a hospital?
What do I call?
A hospital.
I think, in my layman's view, a hospital is an institution, organization, or a system that offers healthcare opportunities or provides healthcare for the citizens or citizenry or for the people. That's what I call a hospital. That's my layman's view.
Yes, but I get that point. But when you walk into an establishment, what would tell you this is a hospital?
What would tell me?
This is a hospital.
Anything that qualifies for the definition I've given you qualifies for.
Okay. As far as I am concerned, a hospital is the structure, fully fitted, with equipment, with staff, up and running. Is any of the Agenda 111 hospitals in that state currently?
I am surprised. I told you some of them 90% completed.
No, you're not answering my question.
Because the question you're asking, I don't know.
Do you have any of those 101 establishments set up, wired, fitted with logistics, equipment, with human resource, doctors, paramedics, and others there working so that I or that person in Kwesimintim can walk into that facility and say, I'm going to seek medical care?
Allow me to answer this.
Please go.
In the first place, sitting here, I don't know. 2, development is a process. I quite remember Bekwa and all those places. It was Kufuor who started them. I even had the figures. NDC came under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. They also started some of them, and even continuing these things. Nanadu came. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, when handing over this country, had not finished most of them. He also continued. So I really don't know where you're coming from. But so far
I'm coming from,
so far as I'm concerned, about 90% of even the one I saw at Enyiresi, and most of them are there. They are in stages, it's a process.
You started with 88. You gave yourself timelines. You increased it to 111. You stated categorically, Mr. President, the former president, stated categorically that they would be completed. Now, as of today, you don't have, out of 111, you don't have one that is complete, that can be called a hospital. That's why I'm asking you that in terms of
so does it mean
the returns, these structures are there. I'm not saying they are useless. No. Else we would also say that the E-blocks that were left, bequeathed to the MPP in 2017, were useless. Were they useless? They were not.
They were not.
So no one is saying they are useless. Saglemi was not useless. It's just that we left it to rot.
But
the point
maybe
is,
also your choice of way. If you say they had not given us any return, that is where
as of now, I'm talking, and that's why I was asking what qualifies as a hospital. As of today, what returns are we getting from them?
They have added to our GDP value. That's one. You should know that.
So you are confirming
and
that
some
as
of the returns
today,
are long term.
Not one out of the 111 is complete in the proper sense of a hospital.
Do you know that the structures?
No, just answer.
No, I want to answer with this scenario. You look at multimedia. I started coming here. They have not even done a Sempa. You see how it's progressing. There are structures I've seen you've done here. They haven't started using them. Can anybody say that they haven't given us any returns?
But
no, they add to your assets.
But there were other aspects running.
Yeah, but the other hospitals that under Nanadu we completed and they're running.
So you think this was you think this was prudent, investing 400 million? In fact, some of your own party members have said that it would have made more sense to maybe do about 20% of them first and to have completed.
Oh, that would have been a very good option.
Would that not have made sense?
No. Oh, it doesn't mean what we are doing doesn't make sense.
No, I'm not saying, would it not have made more sense?
Let me explain something to you today. I share with what you're saying. I will not do that partisan pay. You know the way I am. It's perfect. But let me tell you, when it comes to decision-making processes all over the world, it has objective. Towards your objectives, we have alternative ways of getting there. Then you analyze the alternatives. You pick one. Somebody can say, oh, this one would have been better. So I share with you that we could have done maybe 10, 20 to complete. Whilst we do others, that one perfect. I think that person who says that, I agree with him. Perfectly well. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think we are all not perfect in discharging our duties and doing things. Even you the way you manage your home, the way you dress, somebody can say that, oh, you or me, Sticker, you could have done this. And that person's statement might have made sense or better sense than mine.
Indeed.
I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because you're a human being. Sometimes, if the person had been in your shoe, probably you're taking the same decision you took at that time. But standing somewhere, he has a better analysis of what is going on. He can make input. So I agree with you perfectly well.
Let's talk taxes. I wanted us to quickly segue into that. The NDC has said that it's taking away the e-levy, the betting tax, and a host of others. There was the conundrum of the emissions levy, whether it was active, it wasn't active. What do you make of that before I narrow down on one or two of them? What do you make of the taxes? Because your spokesperson on the economy, Kojo Oponkroma, had said that one, on the back of the SONA, the NDC's finance minister or the country's finance minister had to be truthful, and that secondly, they should not introduce any new taxes. What do you think about the tax per the 2025 budget?
What I've seen is that they made promises. And the explanation I can give you is that tax management, please get me. You can call any professor to come and say any other thing. Tax management, in terms of policy, is calibrated in nature. We should understand. You don't wake up and say, I'm increasing tax or I'm reducing taxes. It depends on your fiscal space situation or condition. So that's why I cited that between a period of about 2 years, NDC government, or 3 years, introduced and increased tax items, almost 26. Those were the days they brought KIO tax, condom tax, and all those taxes. Nanadu came.
Which one was the KIO tax?
They had this 1% in NDC time. It was there. I cannot, because we took it away. You remember, in our country. Then Nanadu came 2017. He took away taxes. I'm sure even that one I have, yes. I didn't want to. Number of taxes Nanado's government actually took away were amounting to about, is it 12 or 17? They are here. This is a state budget, so I can't lie. They are here. But after that too, Nanado's government started introducing new taxes and adding some. Why? Tax policies are not necessarily made out of political decisions. So if they are in government today, the time we're introducing taxes, what was our situation? We needed to increase our domestic revenue because our debt to GDP was going up, because we had fallen short of over 12 billion, because corporate taxes and payees were going down. Now, these situations are not fully restored, but they are in better positions than those times. So if they want to take away the taxes, they have analyzed the economic situation. Now we are growing 5.7, no longer 0.4, even higher than 2016, 3.6. Now our debt to GDP is not 72.5 that they left, it's 61.5. And they think they can make room for other areas and make more money and have a very healthy economic factors that you and I were listing. Why not? I don't want to come and condemn them. And in any case, they are increasing mining tax. One would have also said that the mining sector was the very sector that saved Ghana when everything seemed to have come to a standstill in terms of growth. So why we wouldn't allow them this space to also consolidate their growth and also stabilize and continue to help us and expand so that we get more corporate taxes from them. So it's I think, in my opinion, it's a discretionary decision of the government.
You think at the time when, and this is on the back of the hue and cry of the ordinary Ghanaian, you remember when the e-levy was going to be introduced and the hue and cry on the streets, the COVID-19 levy, CSOs, media, Ghanaians we interacted with kept saying, after what, a year, 2 years, why do we still have it on our books, COVID-19 levy? Then you introduce the betting tax, which we will get to shortly. You think introducing these at the time was apt? Do you think so?
My opinion, as an expert, as a financial economist in that area, yes. But the point is, who wants to pay tax in any way? And this thing, let's also get this in clearly in our country. you see the work you are doing here. If you put me here, I can't do it. Honestly. People think it's easy doing this. See what I'm taking you to, see what you're going through, maybe your research, the nice way you're asking questions and all those things, thinking on your feet. I can't do it. I think we should allow meritocracy sometimes. We should accord it the needed respect. When you are not well and you go to the hospital, a doctor can diagnose you and say that, my brother, your challenges are A, B, C, D. You need to take medicine A, B, C, D. They might not be palatable. They may give you nausea. They may let you probably panic or something, or they may be bitter. But the doctor knows that, yes, it's bitter today, but tomorrow will save you. The only aspect I agree with you is how we use our taxes. Judiciously. I mean, we have huge challenge there. Don't let me come here and behave like we are angels. Whether in this or MPP, even whether GRA, whatever it is, we need to also do something about it. But taxes are not demonic or demons. Depending on how and when and the amount that you need to tax to get the target you want in domestic revenue generation so that you save the country and the people from perpetual distraction or deterioration.
And I agree with you.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I agree with you to a large extent, but it's also about, yes, you've mentioned one of the key spin-offs, if you like. If you collect taxes, if you get revenue, what are you using the revenue for?
Exactly.
How is it bettering the life of the ordinary Ghanaian?
And I beg you,
but the timing.
Not this. Can I say something, or I should wait?
Go ahead.
Okay, when you finish. Okay, my boss, what I'm also trying to say is that one area that I think we also fail, I've seen NDC failing, MPP failing, is how we communicate some of these things to get a cascading effect along the social stratification. What I mean is that my mother doesn't understand a lot of things I'm talking about. You don't you do, I do. We have teachers, nurses, doctors, farmers, different people with different strata, the way they understand things. So if we fail to explain the importance of taxes, the benefits they would derive in the long term or medium term very well and bring them along, I'm sure the people will agree. And if MPP NDC stops demonizing that policy because one wants to stay in power or come to power, I'm sure Ghanaians will begin to appreciate this and understand.
Again, I agree with you. Politicians sometimes bastardize taxes. Developed economies have ridden on taxes, but if you tax, you shouldn't tax into the ground. In other words, it shouldn't be a situation where you are slapping the person you are taxing left, right, front, back, and all of that. And you know this. If you tax people to the ground, that is where there will be more tax avoidance, there will be more tax evasion, and in the end, you may recoup much less revenue than expected. But if you create a system where people feel, I can still pay my taxes, benefit from the system. After all, if the road leading to my office is good, I am saving from my taxes. If an ambulance can get to me when I need it, I am saving from my taxes. But the timing, when someone is down already and you kick the person, it seemed to be a bit unfair. So the timing of some of these taxes. But my question substantively then is, if you feel these taxes were apt, why is it that in the last campaign, there was the move to take away, per Dr. Baumia and your manifesto, take away the betting tax, take away the e-levy? Why?
First, I said it's calibrated in nature. We are realizing that we're growing and restoring most of the downturned primary and secondary indicators. Do you know that 2016, even 2016 that we didn't have all these serious crises, agriculture was growing 2.7. By 2024, we're growing 4.5 per the provisional figures as of November 2024. That we were leaving the industry because we lost the election. Agric was growing 2016, 4.3. We left by November provisional figure. We're growing 8.9. Services, 2.8.
The juxtaposition, which years are you using? When you mentioned 4.3, you mentioned 8.9.
2016.
Okay, all right.
And then,
so now you've clarified.
Then provisional figures, November 2024. That if the changes will even go anything to go. But in fact, we're even in November, we're growing 6.3 provisional figures. And now the official figure is 5.7. So, as I said, because it is calibrated in nature, one could see where we are heading and say that at this point, we will have to remove, of course, taking into consideration the outcry of Ghanaians.
All right. So
I hope you understand
sense.
what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. Does it make sense what the finance minister has done to take away these taxes? As of now, does it make sense to take away the taxes?
Let me come in. I have not condemned him taking away the taxes. Now, we call something asymmetric information. As we are talking now, Dr. Forson has better picture and insight into the underlying factors. So he can say that, oh, per what I've met, per my program, per what I'm doing, it's not only the fact that I promised, but if I take away the taxes, I can actually do something and still maintain that level of utility or satisfaction Ghanaians need. So I cannot condemn him. And then he gave explanation. He said that he's reducing tax refund 6% to 4%, and use the 2% to make room for. In financial economics, we call this approach or technique strategic financial configuration, which is not bad. But the question is it enough to cater for the room that has been created?
I hope
you understand.
Anyway, in Parliament, he made mention of the deficit and how these sums of money, in fact, per the calculations, it would take care of what the betting tax would have accrued, and I believe
that's what I'm saying. He is
right?
saying. So I'm asking a question. You see, I don't have to conclude because of politics, and I don't have to say is this. So what I'm saying,
because you made it in the form of a question. So I just wanted to say that he had concluded on how much he was hoping it would raise per previous figures.
So if he now is in the helm of affairs, because they say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating thereof. If he is handling the economy of this country, he has his programs, he has his projections, then one would have also said that maybe that is the reason his target, almost about 80% of his target, is below what he inherited. He is targeting about 4%. He inherited 5.7%. Right. Apart from gross foreign assets, and then current balance, almost all the targets Dr. Forson is setting, they are below what he inherited. So maybe he has decided to perform below what he took over because he wants to cut his coat according to his size and live in a situation where he will not throw the economy out of something he cannot manage.
Is that necessarily the case? Yesterday I interacted with...
my statements are all hypothetical.
Okay.
If you hear what I'm saying.
So it's a maybe.
Exactly. So he knows. But what I'm saying is that I hope he's not being induced by this whole political promises and campaign messages and take a decision that in the long term will jeopardize and deteriorate the very fiber of our economy. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Let's look at the betting tax, because after those claims were made that they were taking it off, then Dr. Amin Adam said, ladies and gentlemen, we never collected the betting tax that they said
I knew this would come.
We never implemented the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was never implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana. You were at the ministry, did you implement the betting tax?
Honestly, I went in with my boss, Amin. I sent my greetings to him this very morning. The very time that, in fact, the most pressing and compelling issues to deal with was this whole thing about meeting the indicative targets, managing the economy to meet the approvals. You know where Ghana was heading towards. So our concentration was so much oriented towards managing all these good things that we have gotten these good results. In fact, I was in charge of wealth creation. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
I was not in charge of revenue generation, taxes. So some of the pieces of the information I may not have been previewed to. I want to be honest with you. I don't want to come and guess or speculate anything. But Dr. Amin, honestly, you know me, I don't fear anything. If I have anything negative about him, I would say it. He's very, very hardworking, open. He's not somebody that you sit there and intentionally concourse stories and tell Ghanaians. Honestly speaking.
So from where you sit,
so
you are telling me you can't answer the question about whether it was implemented or not.
Whether it was not. I think GRA sent some things I had read before. If it is GRA's thing, then I'll have to relook at it again. But here, I don't, because I was in charge of, as I said, wealth creation. And wealth creation, you don't deal with revenue.
Okay.
I hope you understand.
So the facts as we know it, and our in-house research teams have also done their work on
And what's
this
the
matter.
results?
On the day of the budget, the 11th, we had Dr. Kasilato Forson join us and make mention of the fact that about 80 million Ghana cedis had been raised from the betting tax. Yesterday, September also came.
Is it this year or last year, 2024?
So from the time of the betting tax's introduction. And
so maybe it will start from 2020.
Mention has been made about the withholding aspect of the tax, and you are in the know about what that means. So there was the betting tax, which taxed the total revenues of betting companies and lottery earnings beyond a certain threshold. Then, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta introduced new elements to the tax, including the taxing of earnings from sports betting, which essentially is the bone of contention here. But if you look at the dynamics of it, following that announcement, then the GRA announced a 20% and 10% tax on the revenue of lottery and sports betting companies, effective August 15, 2023. Before the implementation of Act 1094, then there was a withholding tax of 5% only on lottery winnings above 2,592 cedis, and not sports betting. So then the new law brought on 10% for lottery earnings, and this one for sports betting. And that can be captured because the GRA actually puts that forth. In fact, if you look at the dynamics, the GRA's domestic tax revenue division made mention of the fact that earnings on sports betting in October 2023, the commissioner in charge of the DTRD, again, the domestic tax revenue division, Edward Jambra, then said, quote, during the first month of implementation, we averaged 20 million Ghana cedis for the GGR. As for the withholding tax, we've just started the betting season, but during the lean season, we averaged 15 million Ghana cedis. We anticipate this to quadruple by May. And finally, by way of evidence, I was once in a barber shop and a gentleman came, he was fuming, what was happening? And I overheard the conversation and he showed me something. So because they know what work I do, sometimes they would want to show me these things and lament, complain. He came and he had won, I think, almost close to 4,000 cedis. And he was telling me out of betting. But of course, you should know the ratios that sometimes you would have bet maybe 200 or 100 times or 50 times before getting that. And he said, almost 400, because he had earned almost 4,000 cedis. That was what he showed me. I also have here some receipts of the withholding tax, 522 cedis, 2,000 cedis, among others, from people's bets. How then could the finance minister, on the back of this, come and tell us that it hadn't been implemented when ordinary Ghanaians had been taxed?
Okay, you know, I've allowed you to speak for a long time.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. In the first place, if what my minister said is contrary to or contradict your research, which I have no reason to doubt what you are saying or what has been put into the public domain, we should also take from the angle that he's a human being. He can make a mistake. He can make a mistake. But people shouldn't take it like intentionally he wants to deceive people. I mean, it's not that type. I'm telling you, just get close to him. I'm not saying he's perfect. But surprisingly, why can't we also applaud him leading this team that continue kind of for us to work, for us to get to where one of the most, one of the, I don't know whether swiftest or the most the speed and accuracy with which we're able to hold this economy, ensure our fiscal space is properly curtailed, consolidated, met almost all the indicative targets to get approval and get billions of dollars, because we could stick to the agreements we had, the IMF, and be very disciplined. That one, we will not talk about it. We were not sleeping day and night. My boss, myself, Abner, Dr. Mpabin, the directors there were working so hard. So even if this is taken to be a mistake, I'm saying this because I really don't have the primary information. So if I'm even believing what you are saying without conceding, and I also think you are not lying with all the figures out there, probably it could have been a mistake. So if somebody does something 98% correct and even makes 2% mistakes, then the person has to be crucified because we live in Ghana. I'm not saying people shouldn't talk about it, but please, even if it is a mistake, he's a human being. I make mistake. You make mistake. Who doesn't make a mistake? Look, our present president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, somebody I really respect. I mean, personally, despite everything. I don't have anybody like him in my family. He's a great man. What has he been saying about this economy? To the point that the economy is even at ICU center. Even recently, came to Parliament House. And just about a week after, we are realizing the economy is growing 5.7. Our debt to GDP, almost all the primary macro indicators and secondary macro indicators are better positioned than even 2016. He handed over power to us. I mean, can you chastise him? Of course, there are bad ones too that he said that they were true. So please, what I can say is that even if my minister, my ex or my former ex-minister, my former ex, sorry, because if I'm not careful, people will say that he is no more a minister, which I agree. I think the fact that we want to deal with is that even if it was a mistake, he's a human being. But I want to tell Ghanaians that Dr. Amin that I know, intentionally, he will never ever come out there and create a space to deceive Ghanaians.
Okay.
He will not do that.
I can take your word for that. I mean, following this, we also heard Dr. Gideon Boakul, I believe Kojo Opon-Kroma, among others, also talk about this situation. But let's let that slide. I think the cat is out of the bag on that issue. But just to conclude, we have about 5 minutes, so I'm just going to throw these at you. Answer how you're tired. Eh? How viable is this budget? That is one. Two, will the minority in Parliament, I mean, I know it has to go through appropriations and everything else. Will your side approve? I mean, looking at what the budget entails. And finally, our debt situation, ECG, Cocoa Board, the IPPs and all of that. Do you think the approach is right to deal with our debt situation? Because if ECG's situation is not dealt with, our lights will start doing, disco dancing. What do you think of these three? Decide to address it how you want to.
What is the approach?
What is which approach?
Yeah, no, say their approach. You mean?
I mean, they've mentioned what the debt situation is, how they are going to try to rein in expenditure, rationalization, fiscal policies, and all of that. And I'm asking for the budget.
Before I come in the first place, the situation you're talking about, I'm not rationalizing or justifying it. Whether it is so or not so, which I think it is so.
Oh, you're still talking about the betting tax?
No, you're talking about the debt.
Okay, all right.
At the departmental levels or whatever.
Right.
It's the same recycling thing. We're in Ghana when MPP won power. Why aren't we talking about these things here in your studio? The same thing. You leave, somebody comes, he continues, he pays the debt you left. I can't remember, even this thing they are talking about, rollover, that they've taken money for cocoa they have not provided or supplied. Then it's been going on for almost 30 years.
Syndicated loan.
Yes, NDC actually left about 200,000 tons. We left about 300,000 tons. In fact, the time we left 300,000 tons, Ivory Coast left about 500,000 tons. It's a practice. It's not like somebody put Ghana in a jeopardized situation. That is one. Two, in fact, even under NDC, they were charging 1 kilometer road Cocoa Road, about $440-something per kilometer. It's our government that came in, did a lot of reviewing and revisions or whatever, and brought it to about 200 and something, less than 3 minutes. Okay. So these are practices that we need to find a long-term solution in dealing with them. Because they are not palatable. But I want to tell you, it's not specific. It's not government specific.
Right.
2, I beg them. They shouldn't be overly ambitious and because of politics embark on adventures that will throw this country back into a situation that we cannot pick it back again, especially in managing our fiscal space. I'm only begging them
because...
You
just mentioned that they were trying to be very measured, even in terms of the GDP growth estimations,
I'm saying
in terms of expenditure and all of
that. Is the target he said. So I'm saying hypothetically. But the promises that he's listing, we are waiting if they can materialize them.
They are talking about uncapping the GET fund, uncapping NHIS to feed. I'm just adding to why they are saying what they are saying.
Uncapping
and
them,
the taxes
it's not bad.
That.
I think that one is a good decision. But let's see how that margin that we are going to get is going to be utilized. Because we cap them when? The time that our Russian budget had worsened because of revenue situations. That one I've been explaining over and over and over. So the times we're capping them, they were for specific set of goals that today we have attained most of them. So uncapping them, good news. But how are we going to utilize them to benefit the entire country? 1 minute, please. I'm advising this country, especially NDC and PP. Most of the things should fall within the same intersection or intersect. We should have common interests and get rid politics, tax issues, fuel issues, even borrowing. And
so
last,
you're basically calling for more honesty when it comes to that.
Exactly.
And you are referring to the MPP and the NDC.
The two all.
Okay.
And then lastly, I beg them, this expenditure cut, control your expenditure. Most of the times, as a country, we do them qualitatively. Whether in this year, that's I've seen, I may be wrong. Elsewhere, I want to end with this. You don't wake up and say, I'm cutting this 2%, 3%. No. You run proper financial, mathematical analysis. Because you need to do either regression, correlation, or time series analysis to enable you know that if I cut 2% of this, it will affect 0.11% of GDP. It will affect social utility 2%. This one will not affect at all, so I can throw them away. Let's do that mathematics.
I think you're headed in the right direction there. It will take quite a while for us to get there.
No, we
can. Quickly.
Some of us have the know-how.
You still haven't answered my question about whether your side will approve the budget. And something just came to mind very quickly.
Yeah, I haven't answered that.
The central bank is calling for a bailout.
You're
looking at. Oh yes, you do.
Okay.
but your 1 minute is passed, by the way. They are calling for a bailout of about 53 billion Ghana cedis. Which this administration inherited. And the finance minister is saying, no. I mean, just because you were doing the cost-benefit analysis, that's what brought this to mind. The finance minister says, no, we can't afford to do that, else ordinary Ghanaians will bleed here and there. What do you think about that decision? And then you can let me know, will your side in Parliament support the budget?
Our side, we are going through the budget. It's early day yet. We also have leadership.
Do you have the copies now?
No,
because I think there were claims
I printed the highlights.
Okay.
And that will
you don't have the full budget
yet. Yes. So we are going to read and take our time because we don't want to make arbitrary decisions.
Right.
We don't want to be too political.
Okay. So
if you are raising issues, they are genuine, back with materiality.
Okay.
I hope you understand. Then coming to Bank of Ghana thing, I think it's an issue between fiscal policies and monetary policies. That in this country we're having a lot of problems. We have not been able to develop the needed marriage, equilibrium and balance between the two.
And the monetary policy rests at the doorstep of the central bank.
Come again, yes.
The monetary policy rests at the doorstep of the central bank.
Sure, and then fiscal policy, the government. So is that the executive body here and the Bank of Ghana here why I cannot give any definite inferences here is that I'm not privy to the current or the present situation and underlying variables that are asking and compelling Bank of Ghana to demand this. And also, that is also making the finance minister and the government saying no. So
but it's also on the back of the debts of the Bank of Ghana, which you are privy to, almost 60 billion from the rollover from, the last administration. You are fully aware of that.
I don't think that situation is really just one government. All debts in Ghana situation.
No, I'm just saying, when I say from,
yeah, but what I'm saying is,
from...
even if that is it, as we are talking now, I don't know.
Okay.
So I think the two all should be clear.
All right.
Ato should be able to explain to Ghanaians very well.
Right.
And then Bank of Ghana should also be able to give better justification.
Dr. should also be able to.
Better justification. Right. Then Ghanaians will be well informed. Then we can make input.
It's been good having you join me this morning.
Tough.
It's been tough. You made me laugh. Dr. Stephen Amoah, we all call him Sticker. He's Member of Parliament for Ishaya.
I learned, Honorable Chairman Sabosu came here and said, my sticker is Stephen Kwaku Amoah. But that is not so. Because people were asking me that they knew me in school. It's sticker. Because I used to chew and pour, memorize. Trigonometry, mathematics. You call the formulas.
So that's how the name Sticker came about.
And sometimes somebody will even misplace his nose. Then the person will bring it. If it's geography, geography is a science that deals with human relationship and then they'll be writing full stop. So they started sticker.
Oh, so it sticks there.
It sticks.
Sticker.
So
okay,
my name is Yao, not even Kweku.
Oh, you're a fellow Yao.
Yeah. And
okay.
You give me hard time like
And that is Stephen Yao Amoah, Dr. Stephen Yao Amoah, the Ishaya legislator. He's also a former Deputy Minister for Finance and Economic Planning. Before we take a breather, if you're thinking solar, it's a good thing, but where do you get the right systems from? Select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 to 99,000 Ghana cedis. And note that all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. But that's not all. We also have solar water heaters, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. Sticker says he wants some. Okay, so if you want to sell, they also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. All you have to do, where you have to go, is SolarMate Ghana. You can check them out on Google, find them on Facebook and Instagram, and their number is 0508 320 470. Sticker will be taking that number. SolarMate Ghana is located at Adri Ghana, East Legon. SolarMate, we go everywhere. Shortly, we'll be bringing you back into the studio with more insightful conversations. Please stay.
Well, you know that the month of March is dedicated to Ghana, celebrating Ghana, rediscovering Ghana, and everything really that puts Ghana in the limelight. And Joy 99.7 FM have a special package that we are going to discuss. You want to stay tuned for that. It's the Volta Adventure. And in studio to discuss this with me is Kofi Hayford. He's the host of Overdrive on Joy FM. Hey.
What's up, girl?
How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, I never imagined it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know we catch up off air, but...
Because you're a superstar and all.
Oh, see, come on.
But I also know that Joy FM hosts a lot of programs like this, Go to the Green,
Yes.
Especially the 90s Jam. I think that's my favorite program you have. But let's talk about the adventure in Volta region. Because you guys are going to my homeland.
Yes. Where do you come from, though?
Agbozume. Yeah.
I've heard
Notice how I said it with, what?
What does it mean?
Oh. Kofi, why?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Oh, you don't?
No.
But that's one of the things we need to find out.
So that's what you're going to find out. I'm coming with you, so then maybe we could...
We're not going to Agbozume. I don't know how...
research together.
Is it Agbozume or Agbozuma?
Agbozuma.
Okay, Agbozuma.
Agbozuma.
Yeah. I'm sure it has a meaning.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I'm sure it has
I don't want to give the literal meaning. I know I can translate, but I know there's a deeper meaning than what I think
What's the literal meaning?
So you're going to the Volta region. Why are you going why the choice of the Volta region?
Yeah, because the Volta region is known as one of Ghana's best regions, if you ask me, when it comes to tourism. And like you rightly mentioned in your introduction, we're trying to explore Ghana. We've been doing this over the years. Ghana Month on Joy is a whole celebration on its own, from the very first day to the very last day, the 31st of March. And as part of our celebrations this year, we have come up with the Volta Adventure to explore Volta region. Mind you, that's not the only thing we're doing on Ghana Month on Joy. We have other celebrations, other educative contents that we do on Joy FM. One of the highlights would also be the Accra High Street Tour, which will see us, go on a trip with some of our listeners and our fans and our lovers and family and loved ones as well, from Usu to the Lighthouse in Jamestown.
Okay.
Let's put that aside. Now we're going to the Volta region because we'll crown everything in Accra. The Volta region is a place that has rich culture, heritage, tourist sites and what have you. So we want to see what is there. For example,
see what the hype is about, eh?
We want to understand. That's why I was asking you what the meaning of Agbozma is, because we want to understand why the village is called Amejope. What does it mean? We have heard about
cemetery.
Okay.
Like a place to rest.
Okay.
Amejope.
What about Gemi?
Huh?
Mount Gemi?
Oh, I don't know that.
But you know Mount Gemi?
No, I don't.
Okay. Mount Gemi is in Amejope.
Okay.
Right? So.
Do you come from the Volta region yourself?
No, I don't.
But,
is it because the way I pronounce it?
Yeah, and you seem to know more than me, and I come from the Volta region.
Yeah.
But usually, we need to get the important details of the Volta adventure out, because I've been listening a lot to Joy FM, and I know there's a lot of there are a lot of things to do and explore, and it's all going to cost somewhere around 3,000 Ghana cedis.
3,500 Ghana cedis.
Great. So let's break it down. What's happening when you go? When you follow you to the Volta region?
Very well. So we are embarking on this trip. We are leaving Accra on the 21st of March. When we leave Accra, we're going to lodge at the Volta Serene Hotel.
Is that not where they did the orientation for the MP?
Okay, that's exactly the place.
So you get to see it.
Yes. So that in itself is a tourist attraction. Yeah. So we're going to lodge there for 2 nights. Right. We will also visit the Kpando Lakeview zip line. Have you heard about it?
Yes, I have.
Ghana's first 4-lane zip line. And if you have seen a picture or a video of the place, trust me, the adrenaline rush that comes with being on the zip line and having the Volta Lake ahead of you with the mountains on the sides, beautiful. We're going to have that experience. We're going to climb Mount Gemi. You don't know Mount Gemi, but it's Ghana's second highest mountain. That has that cross. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it. It has a cross atop the mountain. When you make it to the very top, there's this Jesus cross sign over there. There's a story behind that Jesus cross. There's a story behind the hiking to the top of the mountain, and so many others. So we're going to climb Mount Gemi. We will be at the Tafi Atome Monkey Sanctuary.
Yes, I know Tafi.
Which is over 200 years. And there's a story to that as well, why we have over 200 monkeys who are still there. Apart from this, on our way back to Accra, we're going to be on the Dodi World. There was going to be a cruise.
Love that place,
You love it, right? Yeah. So all these things are what is going to cost you only 3,000.
Why don't you charge more?
Because Joy FM and the multimedia group itself is 30 years this year. And we're also celebrating Ghana Month. And we don't want it to we don't want it to be very expensive for our listeners and our loved ones. We want everybody to come with us. We want everybody to experience Ghana with us, to explore the Volta region with us. Charlie, your soul needs some pampering. And for me, I think this is one of the best things that you can give to yourself this year, and especially this Ghana month.
You're showing gratitude to your listeners.
We are saying thank you.
Thank you
for
sticking in.
And like you rightly said, and I was telling KMG on Joy Prime, I mean, if you lodge at the Volta Serene Hotel for only 2 nights, you know how much it's going to cost you, right? And when you pay 3,500 Ghana cedis, you don't pay any other thing.
Nothing at all.
No hidden costs.
There's food in there.
There's food, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Okay. Okay.
2 nights, breakfast, lunch.
I mean, you won't get this anywhere.
No.
You won't get
nowhere else.
From the place
Nowhere
you're sleeping
else.
to the packages
Nowhere
involved, the tourist
In fact, you can ask the
visiting.
MPs how much it costs them to be at Volta.
When I see them, I will. But, Kofi, I want to give you just about 30 seconds because our time is up to actually invite our audience to not miss out on this great adventure to the Volta region.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. So, I mean, it's Kofi Hayford. Like you've rightly heard, we're embarking on the Volta Adventure Tour from the 21st to the 23rd of March. This is something that you need to be on. Come and experience the Volta region. See all the sites that we've talked about over the years. The Tafia Tobe Monkey Sanctuary, be at Volta Serene Hotel, climb the Mounts Gemi, Amejope Waterfalls, and the Canopy Walk. Everything. Experience Ghana. We're taking about 100 people along, 2 buses or more. So you need to be a part of this. Only 3,500 Ghana cedis. You can make your payment via Momo to 059 303 8842. 059 303 8842. The name that will pop up is Daniel Boy Fuel. Make the payments, 3,500 Ghana cedis, and leave the rest to us. You'll have fun from the 21st to the 23rd.
Yeah, but before they make payments, someone might like to call to be sure. Is that the same number?
Yeah, you can call 0302 216 541. 0302 216 541 to make payment. But please, let me add that when you make payment to 059 303 8842, kindly take a screenshot of the payment and send it to the same number on WhatsApp, and we'll definitely give you a confirmation message.
So that's very clear. Kofi, thank you for coming.
Welcome.
And I mean, thank you for organizing the whole team, Joy FM, organizing this wonderful.
And maybe when we go, we'll try to find out the meaning of Agbozumba.
Yeah, go and learn it and come and teach me. Kofi Hayford, the host of Overdrive on the Joy 99.7 FM, and they're inviting you to an adventure in the Volta region. You don't want to miss out on that. Thank you for coming. Right, before we go, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right, the tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, whether rain or shine. Syntex tank has your back. So go outside. Check your tank, and if it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex Tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call us on 0244 335 168 to buy now, or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. Coming up next, we engage network of women in broadcasting. Please stay.
Do our people know?
So let's talk about Network of Women in Broadcasting. It's an event or an organization. They're aiming to train and mentor female broadcasters, and they're going to launch on the 14th of March. In studio with me this morning, Nana Biama. She's the president, Network of Women in Broadcasting. Nana, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, my
Before we even talk about women in networking, I want to get to know you a little bit. Who are you?
My name is Mami Biama.
Right.
I'm also a broadcast journalist. I work with Peace FM, Despite Media. I'm a deputy news editor there.
Okay.
And so
what was the intention behind women in broadcasting?
Well, women and our issues. We sat down, we're a group of female journalists who are, majority of us are broadcasters. And we sat down to realize that women in broadcasting are really lacking behind in terms of our welfare issues and all that in the media. And therefore, we decided to come up with this idea of putting all of us under one umbrella so that in case of any issues or something, we will be able to come together as one body and then fight for us.
Okay, so is this the first we are seeing of women in broadcasting? Is this the first experience we're ever getting for this?
Oh, there are other...
Or have you been in existence for a while?
Oh, yes, we have been in the shadows for a while.
Okay.
And there's a time that we decided to come out big. And God willing, tomorrow we'll be launching ourselves.
Yeah, let's talk about that, the launch.
Yeah.
So where is it happening?
It's happening at the British Council tomorrow, 9 a.m. And we are expecting a whole lot of women leaders who have shown interest in this initiative.
Okay. And who and who might be attending? And is it open for all women in broadcasting?
Yes, it's open for all women.
The launch, I mean.
Yeah, the luncheon. All women in broadcasting are welcome. And we have the former information minister, Fatima Abubakar. She will be coming around. And then also we have the Minister for Gender and Social Protection. She is our guest speaker. And then we have Joyce, Madam Joyce Bawa Muntari. She will also come to grace the occasion. And a host of, Lady Julia will also bring a rep to come and grace.
Are you inviting any men at all?
For now, not really. Because we want it to be women, women.
So tomorrow when we take a look at the auditorium, it will be women throughout.
Women throughout, but maybe the camera guys.
Right.
There will be camera guys around.
This is a very important initiative, and I think, I personally appreciate that we have something like this. And I like how you started by saying women and our challenges and all that. But also, I think we should be celebrating our successes.
Yes.
Because we're doing so well.
Very well.
I want you to take the last word. We have to go in about 30 seconds, but I'll give it all to you to speak directly to our audience.
Okay. Network of Women in Broadcasting, NOWIP for short. We are here to serve all women broadcasters. So, God willing, tomorrow, Friday, 14th of March at 9 a.m., meet us at British Council and then come and be part of it. After the launch, the door will be open for every woman broadcaster to come on board.
Thank you so much, Mami Biama Kwafo, President, Network of Women in Broadcasting. Tomorrow, you'll see me there.
Thank you.
Okay. Stick and stay, because although the AM show comes to an end, we are leaving you with Ghana Grows Changing Narratives, which is brought to you by MasterCard Foundation in collaboration with Springboard Roadshow Foundation. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I did this with Benjamin Akakbo. Enjoy the rest of your day.
My name is Mercy Hadro Wove. I come from Tumu in the Upper West region, and I am the co-founder of Luwe True Andrew Ventures. I'm a teacher by profession, but then I looked at it. With the teaching alone, how much would it fetch me? Apart from that, what would I do to impact society? And I had a friend who would ask that I buy shabata from the north and send it down south. I would do that for her and wait for another season to come. But then I knew I had skills that could process shabata into other things. When we are about to go on holidays, I would organize the students and train them on how to produce some things that would help them when they are on holidays to be able to make something to help themselves when schools resume. I started the business alone and realized that with my area, I was okay, but I needed somebody to partner with. By then, my sister was available and we partnered together. We currently have a workforce of about 12. With the cosmetics, we have women in some villages who we give money to buy the nuts and process the nuts into butter for us to do the production. The business has been very beneficial to me. People who use the products, the reviews they give, it helps you to keep yourself in check, to be able to increase production, and also hoping that we'll get all that we need to be able to expand the business to the way we want it. Most people believe that it is only in Hamatan Shepherd is needed. Even though you can use shea pomade throughout the year, but people believe that it is only needed in Harmattan season. The sole aim of our business is not to make money. Money is good, but what is money if you are not able to impact the life of others? Our business is a business that has to do with the human, our body and our health. When you look at the cosmetics, we believe that we can have a beautiful skin without using harsh products on our skin. The women who are idle, this will help develop the country to reduce the rate of crime, and this will help others to help others. We prepare them, they step out, they help others. My name is Mercy Hadrowowe, co-founder Luwe Truandru Ventures. Ghana grows.
Ghana grows.